Grant.
What?
Oh, shit, Grant.
What?
It's time for the podcast, Grant.
I don't think I'm ready.
Are you not ready?
Oh,
You
it's
better get ready. It's time for Rage Slay. That's my serial killer voice.
I'm ready.
That's right.
Let's do this.
I'm going to strap Philip Seymour Hoffman to a wheelchair and go, are you ready for podcast? Do you hear the podcast? And he's going to be like, I do. And, you know.
He's dead.
I know.
Too soon.
Is it too soon?
Soon.
I was referring to his fictional character in the movie Red Dragon. And I was then comparing myself to the incredibly muscular and good-looking Rafe. Is that how you're supposed to say his name?
Rafe?
Rafe Fiennes? I've heard people say that before.
Oh, yeah.
That's how
he's
he did.
too good for the L.
He doesn't want Ralph anymore. He doesn't want to be little Ralphie Fiennes.
Ralphie Fiennes.
He wants to be Rafe Fiennes. Well, welcome everybody to the podcast. You know who? I think they could probably tell. I guess if you're a first time listener, I'm
This
Jeff.
is Jeff.
Yes, I am Jeff.
I'm
And
Grant.
That's Grant over there.
Yeah.
For those of you who can't see me pointing.
Cool.
He's in the guest chair for the podcast.
Hello.
Scorpions and the electrodes and stuff. So yeah, we're going to let's see. We've got I think we got a pretty good show today, Grant. We've got a fair amount of news. I mean, it's starting to slow down towards the end of the year, and we've got some emails from the fine folks. Actually, every time I put out a call for emails, it's like I needed like 3 more emails for this show, and so I went on Facebook and I was like, "Hey, everybody, send in some emails," and I got like 20 emails. I was like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
One of these days, we're going to have to go back to just the full email show format to get rid of some of the backlog, because there's some pretty good questions there. But before we do that, we're going to talk about things that are happening in the world. Or, I don't know, have you been on a roller coaster of doom or any deals with Satan this week?
No.
Elvis sightings?
No.
Have you ever noticed how we don't get as many Elvis sightings anymore? That used to be the thing in the...
I feel like even if they were seeing Elvis for a while,
Yeah.
even they have to admit that he's probably dead by now.
Well, it's funny because I think there was a good point on the Cracked podcast that I listened to, and one of the ones previously where they said, like, you ever like put 2 and 2 together and go that like the number of people saying, "Hey, I saw some crazy shit," went down so dramatically when everybody had a camera in their pocket? Because if you saw Elvis at a bus stop, it'd be like, "Where's the picture?" You should just take your phone out and take a picture of fucking Elvis standing there, right?
There's that. There's this chart I saw, this whole diagram that said number of miracles reported in history.
Right.
And it's like this really high number, and all of a sudden it says the invention of the camera. They dramatically drop, and then it's like the invention of Photoshop. Right back up there.
So yeah, is anything you did anything
Nothing new personally,
Yeah.
but a lot of interesting things going on in the world.
A lot of stuff in the world. I've been just locked in my room. I guess I got back into the Oculus last week. I showed you yesterday. It was hilarious. I should have been playing Dragon Age Inquisition, this 60-hour-long RPG, everybody's game of the year.
Yeah.
And I pulled my Oculus back out, and I was like, "Oh, this little Micro Machines racing game totally got Oculus support, so I'm going to play that for a few hours instead."
That game is badass.
Isn't it? It's like it's crazy. It's like these little Micro Machines driving around on a table, but the Oculus, it's like you're looking down on the table like you're standing in the room.
Still makes me sick. The Oculus makes me want to vomit.
I've never had a problem with it, but it could be because I've been staring into cathode ray tubes.
Vertigo.
Yeah,
but that game looks really cool.
It was pretty cool. But anyway, enough about that. I mean, we've spent enough things. We've got, I think we got 2 things to talk about before we get to the news.
All right.
So let's start with the most socially relevant. Okay, let's start with the Sony hack because
The Sony hack.
Oh, the Sony hack. I haven't been following this very closely. To be honest with you, like
I've been following it fairly closely.
I have had my head so far up Rage Select's ass. I guess my own ass.
That's weird. Yeah, you have your head up your ass.
Just coding videos and doing schedules and talking to people that were like, "Oh, Sony got hacked," and I was like, "All right," and then it was like kept going and going and going, and I kind of got some like whiffs of it. Like I still don't know. Like somebody said something about Angelina Jolie or something. I haven't gone into any of that. Any of what was leaked.
There's a bunch of little nitpicky kind of bullshit gossip that all it does is kind of reveal what most people would already know.
Yeah,
is that there's a bunch of execs that are egomaniacs, and they're kind of shitty to other people. They're kind of assholes.
What? Egomaniacal, shitty people in Los Angeles, California? No, come on.
Yeah, it's just like that. But that's how you get to the top. You're assholes to other people, and you make big decisions, and you talk down. You're very condescending. That's
Sure.
this is the way business is.
But I think that the thing that happened this week that was more interesting was that the
Interview.
Oh yeah, so the organization, for those of you like me who are under a rock, to just paraphrase, the organization that hacked this information and leaked it,
Guardians of Peace.
Guardians of Peace,
AKA the GOP.
Oh,
It was the GOP.
Oh no,
Guardians of Peace. Which, do you know the reference?
This is Guardians of the Galaxy or
No.
Oh,
Guardians of Peace was, I just read about this, I think through a George Clooney interview, but Guardians of Peace was a reference to when one of our presidents went over to China talking about like
Nixon.
I think maybe it was Nixon.
Okay.
Talking about like you guys are the Guardians of Peace, kind of protecting people from North Korea, like all that shit.
Right.
Anyway, so it's kind of being thrown back in our face.
Okay.
Based on how I fucked up some of the names and details of that.
That to me, it sounds like throwing it back in your face is such an arbitrary thing. It's like they could have named their organization "Your Mom's a Slut," right?
Yeah.
And it would have been like, "My mom's not a slut."
But they call themselves Guardians of Peace. It's been linked by the CIA to North Korea.
Yeah. I read an interesting article the other day that was talking about maybe debunking that a little bit.
I saw was it the Wired one?
No.
It was a fascinating thing. I saw the Wired release this thing. It's like, why? It's probably not North Korea.
Yeah.
And they announced that on Twitter, and that'd say about 20 minutes after they ended up releasing that.
Yeah.
All the other news reports came out that it's like CIA is pretty sure they can link this to North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, we had to adjust our title a little bit. And it's like, why a lot of things didn't seem like maybe it would be North Korea. So
Yeah.
had to change their article.
But I think that I think like I don't really care about the gossip and stuff that's come out of this, right? I mean, I think
Except Spider-Man and
I didn't
going over to Marvel.
Nope, didn't read. Yep, didn't.
That was like the only thing I kind of
haven't read. Don't care. Kind of just like whatever. I mean, that's not the sort of news. I mean, maybe if Sony Computer Entertainment was leaked and there was a bunch of game stories. I mean, my focus is on video games, right? So maybe that's why I didn't get it. But,
One track mind.
but what so what? Then that same organization said that if the interview gets released, that was it them or was it somebody else?
It was
or?
them. So what ended up happening?
Okay, you tell me. I don't.
They basically the assumption is that they hacked Sony because there was frustrations about this movie, The Interview, coming out, in which they James Franco and Seth Rogen are guys that get sent over to North Korea to do an interview with Kim Jong Un. Yeah. Kim Jong Un. And they assassinate him in the process.
Okay.
And so these people were not happy with Fearless Leader being assassinated, right?
Right.
So they hack the system.
Yeah.
Starring Jason Murphy and Brian Brushwood.
Oh, they did.
And they have all their information that they're using basically as blackmail to be like, hey, you better back off and not release that movie or else.
Right.
And then it culminates about a week ago or a couple days ago with them saying, you guys release that, and we're going to start bombing all these theaters in the U.S.
Right.
when that comes out.
And then the top 5 theater chains, the guys that actually own the...
Sony, seeing kind of the situation, wanted to give the movie theaters chains an out and said, hey, if you guys don't want to continue carrying this movie...
We're not going to
we're not going to make you. We're not going to hold you to our contractual agreement.
Right.
And that kind of steamrolled with a couple of theaters like jumping ship. First, it was this one that's like some northern movie theater chain out. I'm not actually familiar with the name.
Northern people.
But then like AMC and Cinemark and like a lot of these other big national ones all jumped ship as well.
Yeah.
With the exception of like our Alamo Draft House here.
Yeah.
Because they're fucking badass and fuck you, North Korea.
Because we're not really... Because this is Texas.
Yeah.
We don't give a fuck. Like... whatever.
So they all jump ship.
Right.
And suddenly it's a question of, like, and, you know, you can say, like, they kind of did it because there's this liability if someone dies in your theater. We're in such a everyone sues each other sort of state now. There's, like, that you have to look at risk assessment from, like, well, what are the lawsuits versus standing up for freedom of speech or something like that.
Sure. I'm going to say the thing that I think that everybody has thought at one point or another is a fucking Seth Rogen, James Franco movie. This is the thing that's like that has people talking about like, no, we can't count some dumb fuck. I mean,
it's a goofy comedy, but it has an edgy element to it.
This is the same two guys that were in Pineapple Express, right?
Yep.
I fucking hate that movie. Like,
I love that movie.
Really? I would just.
Did you like This Is the End?
I didn't see it.
Because that one was such a celebrity circle jerk that I was like, I mean, it was kind of funny still.
Yeah.
I love those guys and most of their comedies. And I hear that, if you liked Pineapple Express, you would probably really like this because I think it's a really funny movie. It's from what all our critic friends who already got to see an early screening.
Yeah.
They said they loved it.
Yeah. So I think that the thing, to be honest, most of the stuff that I find that most people are talking about online is not movie theater chains. I think it's. I mean, I understand why they did it. I think it's still kind of a shitty move. Like I think
it is.
People should have just. We all should have just gone. Dude, we'll go see it. Like
they pussed out, and then Sony recalled the movie. Like there's suddenly this option. Like, oh, maybe they'll finally release this one on video on demand, and it can be a great test study, whatever,
right,
for seeing how that might be profitable.
Are they not releasing it on?
And they said no. Sony said we're just gonna shelf this. And
what?
Part of what
entirely?
They're not going to release it at all.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a temporary thing or whatever.
So the terrorists have won. They made a threat.
Yeah.
And it's not even being released now.
Wow. I'd say release that shit on.
There's a couple different things that I read about that decision. One is that, I mean, you go, America, how are you guys being such pussies and giving in to a terrorist threat, right?
Sure.
But it's a Japanese company.
Yeah.
Sony.
Yeah.
And
this would be.
It's their American film division
arm, right?
But
American.
I read from one place. I don't know if this was a credible source. It was a commenter on Reddit, actually. So it could be bullshit.
It's ironclad, obviously.
But they said, hey, it's important to point out that the person that actually made the final decision was the guy from Sony in Japan.
Oh.
And they have a lot more at stake with people, because CIA was able to say, these bombing of theaters, it wasn't a credible threat. They had no evidence that anyone was actually going to set up and bomb the theaters.
Okay.
But over in Japan, they have people that are held captive in North Korea. They have issues with, rubbing things the wrong way there.
Right.
That's a poor phrase.
So I think that, so what I was saying is that, I mean, like I said, I think that's a dick move, but what I'm really worried about more than anything else is that
creative freedom,
that they're going to use this to just ram SOPA through. That now that they have this weird example of why we need to be able to censor stuff and why we can't have people with unfettered access to information, and why that they'll take this and they'll take this celebrity nudes leak and maybe one or two other things and stack them all on top of each other to scare people into going we need to have the information control to be able to say, if you're doing something we don't like, we need to be able to shut your site down immediately. That's what I worry about more than anything else.
Dude.
Because then people are because the thing is that I've seen, I read that the Aaron Sorkin editorial, right, where he's he kind of damning the press for doing the work of these people by taking that information and then leaking it out, right?
Rather than standing up for hey, you guys are threatening all of us when you threaten Hollywood and this one company.
But I mean, and it's weird because I thought about it, and the way that I come down on it is just basically it would be one thing if the leaked documents were something damning a government organization for doing illegal things, or evidence that people had been coerced or something. It's a bunch of fucking movie news. You could totally sit on that and it's fine.
I could point out one interesting little bit of news that was leaked out of this.
Yeah,
I read there was this project called Project Goliath that was being discussed in some of these emails between the lawyers of Sony.
Yeah,
and they were all talking about this Goliath that's their enemy, this enemy of all these movie companies.
Yeah,
and it was talking about film piracy and stuff, and you have to stop Goliath. Goliath, it turns out, is most likely Google.
Yeah. And
they're basically saying we need what it alluded to was this idea that these a group of top tier production company, movie studio stuff were colluding with government officials to try and have them go after Google.
Oh.
And so that they could have SOPA. So it's weird that this would follow that up.
I I think it's only a matter of time before I almost feel like the between net neutrality and SOPA that all that stuff is going in the wrong direction, that the people who actually have any power just keep manufacturing these dumb scenarios to the point where the shit's eventually going to get rammed through. I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, I can see your point, and it makes me a little bit paranoid too. It's like, shit. Yeah. Is that kind of what the end game
they've been
of
trying to do this for 10 years now.
Yeah.
Every opportunity they get to trot something out as a reason to do this, they do.
This seems so counter, because the idea is that we've had someone threaten us with being able to have freedom of expression, freedom to say whatever, and then us going and limiting the internet is once again kowtowing to that idea of limiting freedom of expression and open access.
I think all you do is you just couch it in the terms of, like, look how irresponsible people have been with the way that this data has been distributed. We need to have a system in place that if there is a leak, we need to be able to shut down offending websites right away in order to be able to control the information spread.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is, as of today,
I don't agree with that, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
That's, but you
neither
can see,
of us do.
You can
most
see,
of our audience, I'm sure, doesn't either.
Probably not. But you could see the way that dumb people who vote or that are in power or that are swayed by dumb arguments like that would see that and go, "Well, yeah, you need to be able to stop this heinous blah 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 blah."
What's interesting today, though, is that Obama came out and was like, hey, I can understand part of it's terrible what happened to you, Sony, but I don't think you handled this situation the right way by not releasing that movie.
Yeah.
And it was like, good. Because, I mean, that stands up more for that idea, the principle that, like, we shouldn't acquiesce to those kind of threats. I mean, my fear is the slippery slope of us kind of giving in to one of these demands. What's that to prevent anyone else from being like, this system works?
Yeah.
I mean, now if we can do this to Hollywood, why can't we do this to a business that we disagree with? Why can't we do this to the government? Why can't we do this to a book that's being released? Whatever, a documentary. And Obama was making kind of a similar point. Like, if they can kind of scare you into being afraid to have this artistic expression,
sure,
to satirize something, to illuminate terrible things going on,
yeah,
that's a problem. That goes against one of our biggest main tenets of, like, American free speech.
We don't have enough time to be able to go into it in a long form discussion. Maybe another day, or if some people really want to, I don't know. Maybe we could turn on microphones someday, and you and I can just sit here and talk about it. But I feel like there's an interesting conversation to be had there between, you talk about the external pressure applied towards censorship. And that just makes me think about, in the terms of video games, the way that we've seen a lot of internal pressure applied for censorship of other things in video games. But that's a much bigger conversation that I would probably need to think about for 2 or 3 days before I could talk about.
Sure, okay.
But in any case, that shit's
shit's wonky as of recording this, and hopefully, we don't go into full-blown out war with North Korea. I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen. What I do think is that Sony should definitely release that movie in VOD. I mean, that's the good middle ground, right?
Put it up for free on YouTube if you're afraid of, like, profiting off of it, dudes.
Why be afraid of profiting off of it? Be like the theater chains. We gave them the option. They said they didn't want it, right? The only thing that stopped the whole VOD movement of first-run movies has been the fact that theater chains get all bitchy about it. So as you were saying before, this is the perfect test case to go, let's release a movie that's never been in theaters on VOD and see how much we can pull in that way.
Exactly.
And
then
people
everybody feel it's like their patriotic duty.
And then, any of us who are like, I could be like, yeah, fuck that James Franco movie, but I'll go buy it.
I think
I'm just not going to watch it.
Patton Oswalt said, this is going to be the most watched movie out of spite of any movie.
Right. Nobody actually gave a shit about this movie, or at least not that I knew before it came out. But
This Is the End, their previous movie, was one of the highest grossing, like, money makers for Sony last year.
Okay,
so I think this actually was going to be a big money maker.
I don't know. All I know is what I feel about that.
Yeah.
But, all right. Well, we've got we've got a little bit of time. But before we move on to the news, one more little quick thing. I wanted to just briefly spend 5 or 10 minutes here talking about Serial, which just wrapped up yesterday, as of this recording. What'd you think, Grant?
I liked it.
Yep.
I think it was a very huge task for her, Sarah Koenig, to try and wrap up her closing thoughts for a murder case that happened 15 years ago.
Right.
And her trying to piece through the evidence. And some people wanted her to come down a little harder with a decision than she did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she made the best argument she could.
Yeah.
And she basically said what you and I have been saying behind the scenes. Like, I don't know. Are we afraid of spoilers on this? Is that kind of weird? Where she ultimately comes down?
I don't think there's. Well, I don't.
Should I speak in generalities until people get to see it?
I mean, you could talk about. Why don't you just talk about what you think?
Well, okay.
Because I mean,
you and I at least.
I don't like the idea in Serial that Sarah Koenig is a character. I like to think of her as she's essentially. I mean, she's reporting on a story, but when you do that, I'm sure there's some adage out there that I can't pull up in my brain right now. Is you're not supposed to be part of the story. You're supposed to be reporting on what it is.
Oh, I think all through it she became a character.
See, because for me, the weakest parts of all of Serial were the parts where she was being like, well, I don't know if he did it, or maybe he did do it, or interjecting something. So I'm just like, just shut up and tell me the story.
Disagree. I think that's what's so engrossing because she becomes a voice for all of us. I mean, it was very much the same conversation all of us were having. She's having right there to the audience, like the waffling back and forth weighing of the issues. And I think that's what makes it a fascinating examination beyond just a true crime report. I mean, this is it was a cultural event. I mean, I don't mean to be dark about someone got killed
right
ultimately in this in reality.
Yeah.
But it became an entertaining cultural event. It was engaging.
I guess the thing is that from the beginning, Sarah Koenig has always been fine as a narrator and the person doing the reporting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to be real clear here, I could care less whether she thinks that Adnan did it or didn't do it, or whether Jay did it or didn't do it.
You could not care less.
I could not care less about what she thinks about the case. I care about the case itself. And for me, every time that she starts waxing philosophical about her feelings about it, I just tune out because I look at it. It's not because I guess for me, I don't care about the story of her. I care about the thing that she's bringing to light.
And that's so fascinating you say that because I feel she exactly hammers home your point right there at the very end of her own podcast here because she says, at this point, I don't want anyone else's little anecdotes about anything.
Yeah.
I just want the truth. All I want is the facts.
Well,
give me the facts of the case.
Right.
Because she was being bombarded with all these other people that are like, well, hey, one time I ran into the guy who's in jail for this,
right.
Adnan, and he gave me a shitty look one time. And it's like, that does nothing.
See,
I don't need your little personal anecdote.
In all honesty, I mean, the way that it wrapped up was, to me, satisfactory.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like the series, since the episode that was called The Deal About Jay, has
took a turn.
Started getting a lot more erratic with where it was going because I thought that the episode where the best defense is a good defense, I think. That one where they examined Christina Gutierrez and her role was good. I thought that talking about the profiles of Jay and them and stuff, but there was a lot of like the episode before episode 11
rumors.
Yeah, where they started going back into the whole character thing. I think that completely misses the point of why you would even talk about a story like this. And I think that episode in some ways undercuts her the conclusions that she comes to in the finale because she spends half of an episode talking about this idea that he took this money and trying to, like, there's a whole part of that podcast that's built on what is this guy's character, right? And for me, the meat of the podcast is not what is this guy's character, it's look at what the justice system did to this person. Look at the way this person's life has been destroyed through an incredibly flimsy legal case.
Well, last two episodes, they got really meta.
Yeah.
I mean, it became a commentary on the show that she's making, like in real time kind of thing.
And that's why I feel like it got, I don't know. It's a hard thing because, in some cases I wish that she had just done the whole show and then released it 1 week at a time rather than continuing in real time through it.
I mean, and she was editing right up until the day it was released,
right?
Like a lot of those episodes.
I almost wish that they would have done like one season worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then then let that shake the tree and see what reactions it provokes, right? And then go back to it for either a coda or a second season or like take a mid-season break, right? Let them take the time to see what happens culturally and what like Reddit shakes out. People decide to change their minds about being recorded, and then come back to it a second time. Because
I mean, I think what it is what it is, and I love how external influences altered like how the evolution of the storytelling.
Okay, well here
and it was fascinating.
I tell you what, let's get into some minor spoiler territory, right? I
Okay.
mean, I was actually because I was listening to the Slate Spoilers podcast today, and one of the people on there
much better than last week's bullshit.
Oh God, it was so terrible last week. One of the people on there made a really good point where they were like, "We've been talking about whether there was a fucking cell phone at Best Buy for 12 episodes.
Or a payphone, yeah.
A payphone in the vestibule of the Best Buy for 12 episodes. And then this episode, they're like, well, we got the plans for the Best Buy. And there's a square, and it says fucking payphone on it, right? Like,
So hey, I guess there could have been a payphone.
yeah, so it's like you talk to this one person who's like, I used to do all this stuff. I know that Best Buy. There was no payphone anywhere in that Best. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Oh, there is a payphone. There's a payphone, and there's not a payphone. It's like, why didn't you start with going to the blueprints of the Best Buy if this was a key point? Because it's like it's almost like
It's one of those things that she said was new information. I don't think that she would have
But
like
see, I kinda consider-
waffled for so long on that previous episode if that was like a done deal. It was like a point she already knew.
I guess this is where Serial and I, where the point of Serial and me kind of diverge, right? Is if I was her, I wouldn't put anything on that podcast that wasn't actually in the Slate podcast. There was a guy who had a really good. He was like, I would love to see somebody take this podcast and cut out everything that is later disproved and cut out everything that is hearsay from a third party and just put together the solid meat of the case, because I feel like you'd have 6 episodes that were just like rock solid instead
Yeah.
of this wandering over here to Nisha and then back out of Nisha.
Okay,
and
what
back
was-
to Nisha and then away from Nisha and fuck Nisha.
The phone call thing with the Nisha where they proved that if it was a butt dial,
Right.
and it would have still gotten that charge on the thing,
Yeah,
was fascinating.
it was.
That was still such a, well, there you go, reasonable doubt.
Right.
Continual reasonable doubt interjected into every single point against him.
But I guess that the problem that I have is that, okay, let me see if I can articulate this the correct way, is that the fact that they were doing this podcast as they were coming to factual, as they were finalizing their ideas about certain things or finding out, like the Best Buy thing, right?
Yeah.
They talk about it a bunch of times throughout the entire series, right? I would have much rather had them start that series knowing I don't want to watch Sarah Koenig's team fumble around with whether or not there was a cell or the payphone at Best Buy. I want to know whether there was a payphone at Best Buy.
I mean, part of me thinks that they had all 12 episodes already mapped out.
Yeah.
And then as they started releasing the first couple week by week, they started getting more information.
Yeah.
And
it's
that
possible.
more information meant, okay, now I need to shift this episode. Now I need to edit this one. Now I need to go back and change this and this
Sure.
and this one. And in fact, these final few episodes here, I'm not even sure if that's the direction we should go anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the evolution was a matter of necessity because of how things were being received and new information traveling in.
I'm sure that's 100% the case. I guess I just like like I said, I diverge because I think that there's something very important in there that is to talk about with the justice system, and I think that a lot of times it gets mired in.
But don't think
people-
that was there?
No, I think it was there, but what I'm saying is I think it gets mired in all the other stuff that is there to let people make personal judgments about people they've never met before on a limited amount of information.
Yeah.
Like all the biographical stuff, in some cases it's important because it speaks to exactly where they were. But there's plenty of stuff in there that's just like, this person's a nice guy, or this person's not a nice guy, or this person's a... Like in the Slate podcast, they were talking about the way that she strings you along in the Mr. S episode, not telling you his name or why he would be out there, leading as if this was to a conclusion, when she could have just started by saying, dude likes to wangle his dangle at people. That's why he's so cagey. Now we're going to tell you the rest of this thing. But that's the one thing that I worry about with things like this that are real, true things, is by framing them as a story, you're encouraging people to slot characters into good guy, bad guy, protagonist, antagonist. Here's a twist. Here's not a twist. Into that fictional narrative structure.
But that's. I mean, I think that's being a little unfair because how many times does she have to say, first off, that she's not a crime journalist?
Sure.
And second, almost everyone should know her background, where she's coming from. She's coming from This American Life, which is a show that prides itself on being a narrative that tells these real stories, but in a fascinating way that's really gripping. And we've been talking about this a lot. By the way.
I don't really listen to. I've never listened to This American Life before, so I'm maybe not. Maybe
it's very much in the same style.
See, I guess that's the thing is that I was coming at it like I think it's I thought it was extremely important, especially now when we're talking about the conduct of the police in the United States, and I mean I think that there's been a conversation that you go all the way back to. What Errol Morris, Thin Blue Line, and the West Memphis 3 about the way that the justice system, when it gets its sights set on certain things, can persecute people, or at the very least can make a case where there is none that results in people losing their freedom for reasons that are shaky at best.
Sure.
And I think that is a much, much, much more important thing to focus on than the personal aspect of the story and her reactions to it, because that's a thing that has far-reaching results for everybody, as opposed to this guy's personal story.
The audience that it has gained from this,
sure,
I think is a testament to the fact that you can blend and give emotional resonance that ties personally to you by including a little bit of a narrative, by making it engaging beyond just a true crime story. I mean, I agree with you that there's certainly a lessons learned from this, and it'll be fascinating to see how they apply this to season 2.
Right
now that they have a season 2,
mm-hmm.
But this podcast is kind of a game changer for podcasts in general. I mean, I think it'll kind of help other people up their game. It'll change a lot of how people deliver things.
I mean, we're going to put in a lot more zany morning DJ sound effects. That's what I learned from Serial. Right? That's right.
We need that music in the background.
Yeah. It's G-Man and the spatula in the morning. Oh, yeah. Oh, the Serial. Yeah. No, but we'll stay on this for just a few more minutes.
Okay.
But what you're saying, that's what you've described exactly. The reason that parts of Serial are distressing to me is because I think that when you are talking about real life things that happen to real people, the trying to inject narrative into that is extremely dangerous, because it makes people. There are probably people who listen to Serial, right, who are firmly convinced that Adnan did not do it because they like the person that was portrayed on that show, even in spite of the fact that he himself says, like, that's not what I'm trying to do, right? But
welcome to the American justice system, Jeff. That's how it works.
Right, but
personality sells.
Okay, and this is what I'm saying is that if you that Serial has this audience that is so huge, that it is such a game changer, as you said, and such a cultural event, use that power to illustrate that fact. Not subtly.
She hit on that 5 or 6 times.
Not subtly, but really hammer that shit home into people's brains about how. I mean, she talks at the very end of the last podcast.
She hit it on a couple different episodes.
I would have spent the entire last podcast reinforcing the fact that you are innocent until proven guilty. Adnan doesn't have to prove that he didn't kill Hay. The state has to prove that he did kill her. And whether you believe that he did kill her, whether you can prove it is a whole other thing. And that gets lost in so much of this personal value judgment about, was he a good person? Was he smart? Was he funny? Did he help his community? Does that mean anything? No, it doesn't mean shit. What means something is, can the state, beyond a reasonable doubt, not even... he doesn't have to prove shit. He doesn't have to tell you why somebody called Nisha. He doesn't have to tell you any of this shit. What the state has to do is the state has to prove ironclad that he did it. And they didn't. And that's the most important thing. And it pisses me off that they spend so much time talking about what kind of person Jay was, as if you knowing that he had bleach blonde hair and wore a belt buckle somehow could make you a story about he wanted to stab his friend because his friend never been stabbed before. I've done dumb shit like that as a teenager. Like, I've done stupid shit, and that you're going to have people making these value judgments based on people when that's not what the criminal justice system should be. Like, that's not what it is. Or it may be what it is, but it's not what it should be.
That is a very good point.
And that's
you made a really, really good point right there.
So anyway,
I can't disagree with you there.
Serial. I'm sorry.
I still think it was a really good show. It's really entertaining.
I've listened to every episode like 7 or 8 times. I'm not.
But hopefully, yeah, lesson learned. Maybe they will take that into account, and there might be a little bit more responsible journalism in the other aspect.
Maybe. I think that for everybody out there who's interested in the show, I think that there was a really good. And once again, the last week with those Slate guys was garbage. They spent like half their time interviewing the
Episode
musician.
11 was garbage.
It was garbage. But 12, there was actually one really good point that the guy had, and it was what I was basing my thing off of, where he said that when you're judged in a court of law, you're guilty or you're not guilty. It's not innocent. It's not guilty and that there's a distinction to be made there is that you're not exonerated. You are just not guilty because we all start from a place of not being guilty, and you have to prove that, not the other way around. You don't have to prove that you're innocent. The state has to prove that you're guilty. Anyway. All right, now that we've got all the lighthearted stuff out of the way, I know we're talking about the criminal justice system and American freedom and everything. Hey, what about Call of Duty Advanced Warfare? All right.
Oh, shit. Let's get into it. Let's get into the news.
Yeah, all right. So let's see. First up, we had a kind of a weird news week, and I actually axed a whole bunch of stories because there was a lot of potential stuff. But first up, according to the NPD, numbers came through, and they about sales. We get these every so often in the video game industry, right? It says that Call of Duty Advanced Warfare were number 1 and 2. And this is let's see. This is from Activision. They said, "We are excited about how fans have responded to Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Destiny, and Skylanders Trap Team, and have even more great content in store for 2015." So apparently, I only bring this up, right, because I know that there are a lot of people on this website who are like, Destiny, whatever. It was kind of like, oh, Call of Duty, I hate those games. I want them to go away. And I'm like, yeah, not as long as they sell like this. That's not going to happen. At least no time.
Wait, people didn't like the Call of Duty game? I thought that one was really fun when we played it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a different... it's weird, Grant.
I didn't pay attention beyond our little playthrough.
Right. A lot of people get... The thing to remember about Call of Duty has been making a very similar game every year for, let's see, Advanced Warfare, Ghosts, Black Ops 2. The last 8-9 years or something.
Yeah.
They've been putting out one game every year that's very similar to the one that came out last year. So people are just very tired of it. It's like the way that Guitar Hero or Tony Hawk Pro Skater burned out. But
apparently people aren't tired of it.
Well, actually,
it's selling like hotcakes.
That's interesting because even though Advanced Warfare was so far up there, fiscal report that was an analyst pointed out that Call of Duty sales have declined 27%. And that, let's see.
Yeah, that's worse than our decline.
Yeah. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, let's see. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare attracted less than half the first month sales of 2011's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. So even though it's still a giant franchise, it's not like the biggest entertainment launch of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it used to be. I mean, I'm sure it's fucking huge, but it looks like the numbers are declining a little bit. And so, I don't know. I'd really like to see a point where instead of just making the same game every year, Activision has to really kind of double down and figure out some new stuff to do with that franchise because it's got a decent enough backbone. This year, it was Kevin Spacey. That was like their big draw, and laser tanks and shit like that.
The future,
right. But I don't know. I think it's interesting just to look at that kind of stuff.
Huh.
So,
what else we got?
Next up, so this is a good introduction for a slightly different sort of rage. It's not about the American justice system. So, Assassin's Creed Unity. You remember when we played that, right?
Yeah.
Did we play that? We played that, right?
Yeah.
Jumping around in France and shit like that.
Ugh.
So they've been trying desperately to fix this game, and they put out a patch. I think it was, let's see. Yep. They put out a patch, I think it was this week, 6.7 gigabytes to try to fix parts of Paris that were slowing the game down and bug fixes and stuff like that.
Okay.
So on this story, on some Xbox Ones, this 6.7 gig patch has then triggered the game to re-download its entire self back down from the servers, making the 6.7 gig patch actually 40 gigabytes as the game totally re-downloads from square one before you can play it again. There have been, I find it interesting, between this game and Halo Master Chief Collection, and I think there's one other one that's been thrown into that mix. There's been, this comes up every couple years, right? Like, these games, they were broken. I mean,
they sold a fucked up game.
They were broken games when they launched. Yeah. And should we have to put up with buying broken shit? Like, do we not have a reasonable expectation to go to the store and buy a game and bring it home and have it work on the day that we put it out?
Exactly. And this is really interesting because just yesterday I was recording Beerist, and frequently when we're recording...
You had to patch all your beers before you could drink them. You had to download a 6-gig patch for that stout.
Which, by the way, the Beerist podcast, you guys should check that out, beerist.com. Yep. But we were recording, and I was noting that we frequently come across these beers that are, like, they taste off, like there's something wrong in them. There's an infection. And I was like, what's the rate of these that they're selling where these are bad beers, and what's the responsibility of the industry to not sell these versus, they can't take the hit of the market.
So what you're saying is that you want every beer that comes down the line, you want some guy at the end to take a sip of it and then put it back down and stamp the top on it if it's okay.
No, I mean...
Some greasy fat guy at the end of the line drinking like one sip of every beer that goes out.
I'm saying there should be some degree of quality control.
Sure.
And I think that there's a bit of leeway that the craft beer market seems to get.
Yeah.
And it's funny that today, now we're on this podcast, and you're kind of pointing out that the video game industry, there's a bit of leeway on kind of putting out a crappy subpar product initially and then getting away with like fixes after the fact.
Yep.
And that's also kind of fucked up. And why do they seem to get away with it? People are going to just keep buying Assassin's Creed games.
Well, I think that the thing, I mean, as always, the solution to this problem is you gotta restrain yourself. Like when Assassin's Creed Unity comes out, you can't just go out and buy it. You got to stay home, wait for reviews to come in, read message boards, see, and then use your critical judgment to see if there's been or
can you return it? Can you return the game for your money?
No. This is a thing that we talked about a long time ago on I think it was back on Spill actually, but it's come up a few times, and it's a thing that I firmly advocate for. I don't think there's any reason you should not be able to return. Okay. This gets into a very difficult position, right? Because you could buy a game, you could bring it home, play it all the way to completion, take it back to the store, get a refund for it, right? But at the same...
people would do that.
And people would totally do that. In fact, people used to do that back in the old days when you could do that.
Yeah.
And that's why they stopped. And then they put first they tried a restocking fee, and then where it's like, yeah, man, I'll take a $10 hit on my $50 game, give me my other $40. But the problem here, as has been for a long time, is that there is very little consumer protection. I'm just saying in general out there. Like, but I think especially for things like this, right? If you take Assassin's Creed Unity home and you play it for 12 hours and you get all these bugs and stuff, you should be able to return it as a faulty product. There should be no reason why you should. I mean, I don't think we should be bowing down at the altar of caveat emptor as just like, well, it was your fault for thinking that this place would be making the good game, I
mean, there should be some sort of repercussion somewhere else, like the Better Business Bureau or whatever, that you can kind of at least escalate and say, these people are not conducting decent business.
Sure.
They're selling snake oil.
Yeah. Or
with a 40 gig upgrade to fix it.
At the very least, some kind of third party intermediary, right, who could be like, all right, Best Buy, at this point, you need to accept any copies of this that people want to return.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this game, Far Cry 4, not broken. Plays fine. No problem, right? Assassin's Creed Unity, broken. And if people want to bring it back to you, they should be able to get their money back. And then Best Buy should be able to get their fucking money back from Ubisoft, and Ubisoft should have to take a hit instead of just putting out. Because that's the problem, is that what incentive do they have?
Yeah.
They've slowly done this over the years with day one patches and slightly buggy games and stuff, to the point where people will go buy it.
Well, let me ask. I mean, my video game knowledge might be off on this.
Yeah.
But wasn't BioWare kind of having an issue with a lot of their games in the recent past?
No.
There was kind of a degrade in their quality and all that?
Oh, well, there was,
maybe it was just their storyline.
Dragon Age 2 wasn't, I don't think Dragon Age 2 was broken. It was just not a very good game. Right?
Oh, okay.
See, that's the weird line you have to draw, right? Is that if a game is legitimately, that's why I feel like it's hard.
If it's a crappy game, tough shit.
Yeah.
But if it's a broken game.
Right. If you go to a movie theater and you pay your $10 and you watch a movie and it's shit, you don't get to go back and go, hey, give me back my $10 because
they ought to offer a recall.
Yeah.
They would still make probably half their money.
I think
if they did a recall, because half the people won't return it, if not.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe only be like 20%.
What they did, what's funny is that what they did was that they, okay, so this has happened a couple times before, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a few times that I can say they canceled their season pass. Anybody who bought their season pass gets a free Ubisoft game, like one of the newer ones, can just pick one that they want. But for people who just straight up bought the game, there have been a few times in the past where I think that EA has done. There was one where it was one of the games they had on Origin where they were just like, hey, this one was shitty. Pick one of these 4 games, you can have it for free, and that's fine. And I think the company should be doing that, or at least that's the least that they could do, right? Is give you something for free. I don't know. I think that it's starting to get like there was a time when people would email in about this and I'd be like, well, most companies will fix this stuff within 2 or 3 days of being launched and get a patch or whatever out. But this one has been just ridiculous. And I'm still not convinced that even if you patched all the bugs out of Assassin's Creed Unity, that it's not just a bad game, right?
Right now, it's beyond that because it's generated so much negative will.
Yeah.
And
Ubisoft has not had a good year. They've had a pretty bad year between Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed and
hopefully this hurts them on their next releases.
Maybe. I don't think so. I mean, who knows? All right, next up, we've got a pair of Minecraft stories, including one of the most bizarre Minecraft stories I've ever seen in my life, Grant.
I know what one of them is.
Guess what Telltale is making?
A Minecraft game.
Yep.
I saw this.
What the shit, Telltale?
Weird.
Yeah, Minecraft doesn't have a goddamn story. Like, I don't understand. What are they doing?
They're gonna make one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was like if you had to ask me, like people, I think we even had an email this week where somebody's like, "What are the games do you think that Telltale should make?" And it'd be like, "Well, I can think of a few franchises that would be interesting, right? Now that they've got Borderlands and Game of Thrones, I think that." Breaking Bad? No, we already know how that ends up.
Yeah.
But Minecraft of all things.
What?
Very weird. Very strange. I mean, we'll play it, I guess, but very odd. And then the other one, so you know this one, but you don't know the other one?
I knew this one.
Okay. Is that Sean Levy, who was in the production for the Minecraft movie, has pulled out because him and Mojang couldn't come to a conclusion about what the plot of the Minecraft movie should be or something.
They were going to make a movie?
I bet they still are going to make a movie.
That also is weird.
That to me just reeks of like when I heard that they were making a Battleship movie and I was like, the board game? Like what are you talking about? Like or asteroids.
See, every time you hear that though, just say, okay, what if the two dudes that made Lego Movie?
Yeah.
And they're the same guys who did that Meatball, Always Sunny with a Chance of Meatballs?
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
That's right. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with some meatballs in your plate. In your belly? Yeah, and the milk steak?
No, that's the Telltale game they need to make is the Always Sunny in Philadelphia Telltale game.
Do you snort some Coke or give a handy to a bum under the bridge?
Right. You have to play as one of the characters.
What decision do I make?
No, every episode could be from a different character's perspective. Like it's
that
this
would
one
be so good.
It's Mac and this one's Charlie and Sweet D in this one and Frank, and then the fifth episode is just all
Dennis.
What's her face? The
waitress.
Dee's friend.
Oh God.
What's her name in the show?
I don't know.
Oh God.
Celia. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. You were saying about Minecraft the movie. I'm sorry, I derailed with.
I mean, put those guys in charge of making this, the Lego Movie guys.
Sure.
They'll make a plot out of 4 pages of a cloudy with a chance of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right.
So how could they not make something like this?
I feel like that's your best case scenario, but what's probably going to happen... Well, I don't know. Who is Sean Levy? Night at the Museum director, Sean Levy. Okay, whatever. I feel like we're still waiting for...
that guy.
For the movie industry. I don't know why it's taken the goddamn movie industry so long, Grant, to take video games seriously when they make an adaptation, to be like...
Maybe it's because they're picking Minecraft to make a movie.
Well, I would have figured that after what we're seeing with comic book movies, that the movie industry would be like, okay, you know how we waited 10 years to make comic book movies, and then we finally started taking them seriously? We just started making all the money in the world.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that with video games? Instead of putting some schlocky Uwe Boll on it, why don't we hire some real people and make some real video game movies like Uncharted? As we talked about many times.
Every sequential, we're talking about Uncharted.
That's right. So I don't know. That's weird.
That is a weird one.
Strange one. Next up, another very strange story. Apparently, I don't understand this, Grant, but apparently Microsoft is opening their servers to allow Bitcoins.
Huh.
So I don't know how familiar you are with Bitcoins, Grant. I don't really
only vaguely.
I don't understand them very much. I'm an old man. Like, what are you kids just making up your own money now? Or
it seemed like people were making up their own money. I mean, what's it backed up by?
Some metric online, some on internet online metric, or I don't know. I really don't know. But apparently Microsoft is going to start allowing people to translate up to $1,000 worth of Bitcoins into their Microsoft account. Like, you can't just buy stuff on the store directly with Bitcoins. You have to transfer the Bitcoins into your Microsoft account. You can only do $1,000 per day, and you can only do $5,000 total worth of transfers. But you can use that money to buy games and stuff on Microsoft service. Weird. I didn't think Bitcoin was still a thing. I was like, it's been 6 months since I heard about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Is that not a thing anymore?
I remember a bunch of people were kind of like easily scoffing and dismissing it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know really if there were grounds for such dismissal. And basically, I just kind of plead ignorance on this whole thing. I don't really think I understand Bitcoin yet.
Yeah.
So
it was an interesting footnote. I don't know enough to talk about it either. I just want to know, are they going to take Dogecoins as well? Because that's that's its own thing. And that's a real thing, right?
Dogecoins has got to be.
It's not a joke. All right, we got a pair of stories here about, this is just announcement of things that are being remade for the PlayStation 4, since everything is getting PS4 and Xbox One releases these days. And first up, Grant, is a personal favorite for you. Final Fantasy X and
Damn
X is getting translated to the PlayStation 4. I know how happy you are, Grant.
I got all excited. I was like, what is it going to be? Is it going to be Portal?
Yep.
Fuck yeah, Portal.
There's no reason to put Portal. Portal looks as good as it's ever going to look on the PC.
Yeah,
so.
well.
But, yes. Final Fantasy X2 is coming to PlayStation 4. It's funny. Grant is now giving me this, like, he's got this very, like, fake grimace, and he's kind of, like, looking at me like,
this is my I hate you look.
Right. Like, you're just...
You made me play so many JRPGs over the summer.
Hey, guess what?
It broke me.
Next year, there's a summer coming next year, too, so...
That's Aaron's job.
Make your peace. And then the other one that I found a little bit more interesting is... the DMC Devil May Cry reboot that came out, I think it was last year, is also getting a PS4 release, and they had a trailer that went along with it. You haven't run into this very much, Grant, but this game was kind of universally reviled by fans of the series who were upset that it was being rebooted by another company. I've talked with people at length about it. I enjoyed this game, but it's one of those things where a lot of people... Maybe you've got a similar example that you can point to where
people have such brand loyalty.
A thing reboots, right? And they just want it to be the old thing to the point where I feel like a lot of...
Remember when this used to be on a different website?
Yeah.
People just wanted it to be that?
It was way better, man. Way better before it was rebooted. Anyway, the trailer...
This is so much better now.
The trailer shows there's going to be all the DLC. They're going to have a new skin that looks a little bit more like the old Devil May Cry. It's probably one of those things that we'll end up looking at. I always put these kind of things like way down on the list of rage select priorities. Like if there's nothing else, we'll go back and look at them.
But it's a cash grab, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just they're everything now is getting a re-release, and I think it's cool because it basically means that some people will get to see what those games on the PS3 looked like when they came out on the PC, and you could jack all the settings up on them. So it does look better in general, right?
Sure.
But it's just a question of, as long as, I mean, we've got this question before, I kind of put my cap at about $40 for one of these things, is that I won't pay a full $60 again for one of them. Or, well,
yeah.
I wouldn't in my personal life. I do for this website because, but, all right. Yep.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, we got 2 more stories, and then we're out of here, and then we're going to take a break. First one is that, so there's a game called Papers, Please. I don't know if you've heard about Papers,
Oh,
Please.
I have.
You have?
I've heard about it because of you guys.
Okay, well, they put out an iPad version of Papers, Please. Now, when Papers, Please, there's a certain point in Papers, Please where, and for those of you who haven't played it, you play as the person running a checkpoint of a fictitious kind of Eastern Bloc nation, right? And it basically is an interesting treatise on, they keep giving you more rules that you have to follow that makes you invade the other person's personal life more and more as time goes on. Well, at a certain point in the game, they start making you use a body scanner that makes you look under people's clothes, and you can turn them around to see if they have guns or knives or anything taped to them. And then I think eventually it just becomes full-on nudity, right? Well, when they were putting it out on the iPad,
they didn't include that.
They removed the nudity out because originally Apple's service said you can't, this is pornography, you can't put it out on the store because Apple's a bunch of nanny bullshit people.
Prudes.
So they put it out, but then apparently they went back and talked to them about it, and they said, oh, no, we understand that was you just kind of got funneled through the system and it hit it because it was nudity, right? But we understand this isn't porno, this is part of the game, right? So they're resubmitting it on the iPad versions to get it back into the game.
So they'll have the update.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, it's still kind of like dark, heavy material for being able to play on an iPad to me. I'm just surprised. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I think there have been a couple games that have been like that. I don't have an iPad, so I don't know. I mean, Walking Dead Season 1 was totally on the iPad.
Oh, okay.
All the Telltale games generally come out on the iPad. So
for some reason, I just think across the board that
it's just Angry
Apple
Birds.
is just, well, yeah, it's just Angry Birds.
It's all Flappy Bird, Angry Birds.
Something light and happy and frou-frou is okay, but maybe I'm just not as familiar with the underbelly of iPad games.
You need to get your iPad out. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of Splatter and Zombie Brains first-person shooter tap games that are on there.
Plants vs. Zombies and Angry Birds. That's all you get.
That's all it is. It's just birds is all it is.
Birds.
Angry, not angry. All right, and then finally, before we wrap up and we head on out to a break here, so I don't know if you know about Amiibos, Grant.
Is that
when
like
we played
Sex
Smash
Dolls?
Brothers?
No. Oh, I do know what
The
an
little
Amiibo
plastic
is.
guys that come out.
You have an image here. Ignore my sex doll comment. It was just ignore me.
That's Princess Goddamn Peach. You show some respect, Grant.
Ignore me.
So there have been a few Amiibos. There was actually a story last week about a Samus one that came out with 2 gun arms instead of 1 gun arm and 1 regular arm.
Okay.
It's sold on eBay. There's one this week about a Princess Peach doesn't have any legs that went for $25,000 on eBay.
Shut up.
That's what it says. I will not shut up.
I'm telling the article to shut up as well. Shut up, article.
You're telling whoever it was that spent $25,000 on a Princess Peach with no legs?
Why?
I get you a Princess Peach with no legs by 5 with nail polish.
Why?
Because it's a manufacturing defect, and those things could go for more later on. I don't see that happening personally.
Why do people have this money? It's so disposable for them.
I don't. Let's see if the article says who bought this thing.
A guy named Warren Buffett.
Oh well, so the Samus one went for $2,500.
Oh, so this is 10 times that.
Yeah. Oh no, this. Okay, wait. Hold on.
Get in the deets, guys. Get in the deets.
eBay.
I don't even understand it. Maybe it doesn't even stand
Hold
up on there because she doesn't have legs. Is that kind of part of the whole gimmick?
No, I thought that it might have. I thought that it said bids up to. I opened up the eBay page. $25,100 is the winning bid for this.
Oh man!
And it's factory seal.
So nuts.
Defect Peach. She's got no feet. Yep. People got a little, hey, whoever bought Princess Peach, patreon.com/Rage Select. If you need, we'll cut Grant's feet off real fast for $25,000.
Oh, shit.
$25,000? No, we'll get you some sweet robot feet for $25,000.
Can I have some of that money?
Did you see that story last week about the guy got robot arms? He didn't have any arms?
Yeah, but I have my legs now.
But wouldn't robot legs be better?
Can't they just go over top of my real legs?
No, it's either robot legs or no robot legs. No? What about one robot leg?
The shit I do for Rage Select, man. You wouldn't even believe.
All right.
Fine. No
Speaking
legs.
of which, we're going to take a break and chop Grant's feet off real fast. We're going to be back in just a moment with your questions. mail@rageselect.com is the email address, and we will be back in just a minute. Bye. And before we get into the questions, we've got a little... Okay, so here's a question, Grant. All right?
Yeah.
You know the band Kiss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knights in Satan's Service, right? They have the Kiss Army.
Yes.
Right? Now, we have a group. We have people. We have our peeps. So
the Rage Select Militia.
Is that... No, I don't want to... There's a lot of bad... There's a lot of bad connotations there. What should we call our most dedicated of fans? Our core, the people that if we were like, you know what I want is a ham sandwich, and here's my mailing address, and then a week later a ham sandwich, a real old moldy ham sandwich is going to show up in the mail. Like, people who will do things, right? Proactive people.
Maybe it should be like the Rage Select Littler monsters. Take that, Lady Gaga. We won up to. Our monsters are even smaller.
They're even smaller. They're like those pocket monsters, right? What are
Pokemon.
Pokemon? Yeah.
Basically, we're calling them Pokemon.
We're calling you guys all the Rage Select Pokemon, even though I'd never watched Pokemon.
Me neither.
Okay. No, I don't know. You know what? Let's go with an old standby. The Rage Select Few.
I say, let's open it up to the comments audience.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'd love to see what they come up with.
Okay.
But temporarily, we'll have as a holding pattern the Rage Select Few.
Okay. Folks, we have a special assignment. We've got a Tyler Durden homework assignment that does not involve hitting anybody.
Or money.
If you guys like this particular podcast and you're a fan of it, maybe head on over to old iTunes and give us a rating. Maybe give us all the ratings. Maybe
give us a 5-star rating and write a review on there.
Yeah. I mean,
just a couple kind words, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
But it will help increase our visibility.
It does.
And maybe we'll be able to continue growing our audience.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, some people might listen on Stitcher. Go ahead and give us a whatever star rating on there, whatever they have.
Yeah, I think I'm getting mirrored to Stitcher now. It was weird because I signed up for Stitcher and I pointed them. I think at our iTunes thing or something. I was like, whatever. And then Stitcher started auto posting tweets at me that our newest podcast was up, and I was just like, oh, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. The podcast award's going to be coming up pretty soon.
Oh, shit.
And I know that video games have mighty competition.
Can't crack that, man.
But here's what I'll say about the Rage Select audience.
Yeah.
They are...
Dedicated?
Yeah. They are awesome. I mean, it might be a smaller audience.
Right.
But they are fervent.
Okay. So
and
you got to get all your friends. Get your Nana, get your Meemaw, I don't know how many different euphemisms for your grandmother I can say, but get them all. Get them all to vote or whatever.
Give us 5-star rating right now.
5-star rating, yep. Send in, let's get to the questions.
Questions.
I had a segue there, but it just turned into mouth noises. So.
You just became Scatman.
That's right.
Scabba-dabba-little-bop.
Oh, God, I hate that song. mail@rageselect.com is the email address. That is mail@rageselect.com. I actually, before we started, I mentioned this before, I put out a call for questions. I had like I said, I had 7 questions, and then while we were doing the first half of the show, I got another 8 questions. So we're good with questions for a while.
You got some for the next week.
No, yeah. If we don't get to your question this week, feel free to send it in again because I get confused. So.
Old man brain.
Yeah, I'm just a simple caveman lawyer, Grant. Our first question comes in from a Geoff.
Uh-oh.
My mortal
rival of JF.
enemy, Geoff. No, I'm just kidding.
Jeff with a G, folks.
Not really. No, I'm not actually kidding. I put the G off, so they.
You really hate Jeffs that have G.
Well, I don't know any in person, but I'm sure they're lovely people.
I don't call myself Drant
when they're not.
I don't believe in a soft G either.
Babies or anything like that. So, all right. So this one's actually a question. It's a TV question for the TV dude and also Jeff.
Oh, cool.
Without going into spoilers, what is the worst series finale of a TV show you guys have ever seen? Rage on and praise the Dong Lord, Geoff. I think we've had what is the best finale before, but I don't know if we've had what is the worst finale for a TV show that you've ever seen.
I mean, it's tough because I think some shows just kind of peter out and they fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
I am generally very forgiving of finales, and I don't necessarily as much enjoy just shitting on a creative endeavor for how they close out at the end. As much as I like kind of looking for, they tried to do their thing.
Right.
I mean, I'm a lost apologist. I even like the ending of that one.
Grant.
Something I might, if I had to pick one, there were issues I had with Sopranos ending.
I've never seen it.
It's pretty notorious.
I kind of know about it, but I've never actually. I was mainlining The Sopranos when it was on TV, like I think it was the season before the last season, and I was basically just going to this Blockbuster Video to get the DVDs or VHS tapes or what. I think it was DVDs at the time of it. And then when I got to the point where they had not released anymore, I kind of just stopped, and then I never really went back to it. But I know about kind of what happens at the end.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of what kind of occurs in No Country for Old Men.
Okay. Yep. No, that's what I understand.
Yeah.
But let's see. Okay, dig hard. You're a TV dude, man.
Rubicon. Rubicon from AMC was a one-season show.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up not getting picked up, and their penultimate episode was fucking awesome. It was a great episode.
Okay.
And then they close out with their finale, and it just kind of whimpers.
Yeah.
From what I recall, I don't remember all the details, but I just know that it kind of backtracks on some of these promises made in the penultimate.
Yeah.
And then it just leaves you with this open-ended like bullshit that you know isn't going to be resolved. This isn't a series finale, but the season finale for the first season of The Killing was even more bullshit.
Really?
That one was very, very frustrating. Did he say season or series?
Series.
I'm pretty sure he said series, yeah.
Yeah.
But the season finale for the first season of The Killing, the entire season promises we're going to find out who the killer is.
McNulty and Alice, right?
Huh?
Is that the one with McNulty and Alice?
No. This is kind of an older show on AMC. Yeah, this is The Affair.
Yeah, okay.
But this one, like, they promised we were going to find out who the killer is. That was their whole entire marketing strategy.
Right.
And then they don't do it. They leave it on a cliffhanger, like, find out next season. It was like, fuck you, guys.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I didn't even watch the second season. I picked up at the third.
Let's see. I can say, okay, I've never seen it personally. I'm more sci-fi, right? So I can tell you that I've heard somebody described the ending of Battlestar Galactica to me.
That's a notable one.
And I went, I'm glad that I'd stopped watching that show and didn't watch it all the way to the finale.
Yeah.
But there's actually two that are finales that were kind of a letdown of shows that I really enjoyed.
Okay.
One was, and one is resolved, and the other one is just kind of a weird sticking point. One is Farscape. Season 4 of Farscape was going on, and it was one of those things where they weren't sure what they were going to have another season. So every season of Farscape ends on a horrific cliffhanger, right? It's ever since fucking the Star Trek Borg episode, they all end on a big cliffhanger at the end of the season, right? But so in Farscape season 4, they finished up with this big storyline. They did all these things. Everything was right with the world. There was an ending to a thing. And, like, if they had just stopped, like, literally 2 minutes before the end of the episode, they could have just faded out to black and written the end in a little script on the screen. It would have been like, okay, that was fine. But then this thing happens that essentially, like, it's almost like the main two characters in the show just got murdered in the last 30 seconds of the last season that has no season. Like, everything is idyllic and tranquil and great, and everybody's having a good time, and then, like, duh, and you're just like, what the shit?
That's so frustrating.
Fortunately, they put together that sci-fi movie that then resolves it for real, and then it had a really great ending. Like
that kind of reminds me. I mean, not in such a tragic manner, but reminds me of like the Harry Potter book series.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like it ends great, and then hey, here's an epilogue to just like fucking ruin everything again.
Did you feel like that ruined everything?
Hated that epilogue.
I mean, I thought it was a little unnecessary.
I mean, it didn't ruin everything.
Yeah.
But it just ruined my mood at the end. It was just garbage.
Did you just throw the book down on the ground and go, fuck you?
It was just such fan service bullshit that
Sure.
I like, and it just like matchmaking bullshit. I don't know. The whole thing has really frustrated me.
The other one that's interesting that I don't know that I really ever hear anybody talk about is so I am a huge fan of starting at about season 3 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Like I originally watched it when it first came on, and I was like, But then, like, I went back later on in life and I watched it, and I was like, once Star Trek Deep Space Nine realized what Babylon 5 was doing, and they created their own multi-part, overarching story, right? That all the sub-stories were in. It was great because it was this whole war and the invasion from the the Gamma Quadrant and all this stuff going on. Cisco has always been a badass, and they brought in Worf and O'Brien. It was great. It was great. It was great. There were even Ferengi episodes in that show that were great, and I don't necessarily care for the Ferengi. But at the end of the show, they're wrapping up like this whole, it's been like the last 4 seasons worth of this war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're wrapping it up, and they're wrapping it up, and they're wrapping it up, and I keep looking at the time, and I'm like, okay, you've got 2 main arcs. One is the war, and then one is this other character that's doing this bad shit. And they wrap the war up, and I'm like, look at my watch. I'm like, there's like 5 more minutes here. Is there like a TV movie or something that you guys are going to do for this? And then it's like smash cut to Cisco facing down this other guy, and then he just kind of like throws him off a bridge, and then it's like, all right, now we're done. And you were like, wait, that guy's been like this major character who's been of questionable morality, and he's involved with these all
like
this shit.
No service given to the character.
And now they're just yelling at each other in a thunderstorm, and he throws them off a bridge or something. It's just like, wait, what? So like they rushed, obviously. He was probably going to be the place that the series continued on into the next season, where they took care of the war, but then they still have this remnant that they take care of in the last season.
I felt like they kind of did that with Lost, at least with the culmination of like the battle with Jack in the end, and like the Falcon Punch, all that.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see it?
No,
you
I gave up on season 2 of Lost.
Yeah, never mind. Okay.
I'll also say that when you talk about fan servicey stuff, it brought to mind. Okay, so the last Russell T Davies season of Doctor Who so there was his season ended with the Dr. Donna plot line, and then there was like 4 interstitials that they did. They did like 4 specials, right? Mm-hmm. And then Moffat took over, right, when Matt Smith came on.
Yeah.
Not the interstitials. Some of those were a little weak. The one with the bus was a little weak, and a few of the one in the olden days or whatever, the pre-industrial or industrial revolution in London. But
gotcha. The
end of that series is such goddamn fan service. Like, they drag every character that because Russell T Davies is a rank sentimentalist, and so they drag every character that he's created that are fan loved out and give him this really hokey, dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Jesus.
It's kind of like Seinfeld. Remember the Seinfeld finale?
Oh.
That they just have this ridiculous court of public opinion for all of the characters, so they can parade all of their little side characters out.
That was a little weak, the Seinfeld ending. I kind of like it. There's a certain part of it I like. I don't necessarily like the episode, but what I really like about the ending of Seinfeld is where they're sitting in the jail cell, and he says, that button's in the wrong place, and he's like, I think you made that joke before, and it actually is like a joke from the first episode or something.
Yeah.
I like that part of it.
Yeah, I agree.
The rest of it was a little meh.
The rest just kind of showed how wacky the rest of Seinfeld kind of became.
Yeah, when you line it all up and look at it in a row, where you're just like, oh, this show is ridiculous.
Yeah, it just became a joke, a parody of itself.
Yep. Our next question comes in from Alex DP. Wow. He's got his phone number in the signature of his email
Alex,
line.
director of photography.
That's right. And he says, Dear Jeff and Grant, this question pertains to the rise and fall of handheld gaming. I was initially going to write you about how much fun my wife and I are having with our PS Vita. However, recently we ran into the biggest butt fucking from Sony and GameStop. After eagerly awaiting to play our pre-owned copies of Unit 13, third-person cover-based shooter, in co-op, we were greeted with a request to purchase a multiplayer pass for online gaming from the main menu. Turns out GameStop was giving away the required code for free. In my case, it was forgotten when the game first came out. Now I'm stuck paying extra for some intentionally hidden function in the game. What the fuck? Why the hell are we putting up with retail companies and developers getting full price for a game in which we need to pay extra to access full functionality? What are some other reasons for the ongoing success or failure of handhelds? I feel like that's completely not related to what you're saying, Alex. Thank you for reading this question. All hail the glory, girth, and longevity of the mighty dong. Yours truly, Alex.
Alex DP.
Alex DP. Yes. I'm
this
sorry.
guy is a double penetrator.
You set me up
he
for that.
He has 2 dicks.
That's right. This man has 2 dicks. It's true, Your Honor. This man has 2 dicks.
Mad props, Alex.
That's right. I don't know how you pulled that one off. So I'm looking at, okay, this was a game that came out in 2012, and I'm wondering if so up until very recently, I don't know if you know this, Grant, but up until they announced it about a year, 8 months ago, a few companies had this thing where they sold you the game, but then they had an online code for the multiplayer part of the game. And this was to disincentivize selling your old games, or to de-incentivize, or to basically, okay, so if I bought a used copy of Madden from last year, right, and it didn't have that code, then you'd have to go out and you'd have to spend $10 to buy the online pass to play the game online as a way to kind of fuck used game sales and de-incentivize people from buying games used. Because it's like, oh, I can buy this game used and get $10 off the price, but then I'm going to have to pay $10 for the same online code, so I might as well just buy it new.
That's shitty.
It was shitty. It was called Project $10, and it was started by a couple companies. I think EA and Sony were actually the 2 biggest perpetrators. Now, that's since fallen away. Like
Sony?
Yeah.
Man, I hope they get hacked.
So I'm pretty sure when I looked this up online, Alex, that this game came out in 2012. This was probably just happening when that shit was going down. Because I think there was... Okay, I was really trying to rack my memory here. I think that one of the Killzone games and maybe one of the Uncharted games both had passes to be able to get the online functionality. It was another way to keep people from renting the game and then playing it online, right? So you rented the game for $5, but you still had to give them $10 to get online if you wanted to play the multiplayer, because it was a way for them to try to fuck the consumer from figuring out ways to get around their bullshit. And I think that nobody out there ever was an advocate for it. I don't ever met anybody who was like, no, it's great. It sounds like a great idea. You know, this is where that bullshit, remember when we were playing Asura's Wrath and they sold you the last chapter?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of around the same time period when you were seeing this kind of...
You want the real ending?
Right.
Give us more monies.
Now, I mean, they seem to have settled on the fact that if you buy the game new, a lot of times now they'll give you some free DLC. But in all honesty, Alex, I think that you're kind of just got swept up in something. I mean, it's funny because he says he bought the game used, and he says, turns out GameStop was giving away the required code for free. In my case, it was forgotten when the game first came out. And so I'm thinking that I'm almost thinking that what he's saying is that that's the new copy of the game came with the online code.
Yeah.
And he's buying a used copy where it got sold back, and then the code, this was exactly what it was for.
He said his new copy.
No, he said he was, let's see, after eagerly waiting to play our pre-owned copies of Unit 13.
There you go,
So that's
okay.
what I think is going on here.
Yep.
Is that you got caught up in that. I brought this up because I honestly think that that now that they've done away with that stuff, that they should work on essentially, if they're not going to do it anymore, they should probably consider, for goodwill's sake, giving out a kind of amnesty of making that stuff all free again, of saying, it wasn't a big success. We've taken it out of our games from here on out. We don't want to bust you if you... I mean, this game, Unit 13, is... I think I played the demo for it. It's not like a big AAA. It's not the game of the summer.
Sure.
It's just some little Vita game that came out a while back, right?
Huh.
Like, what would be the problem with just going like, maybe just have that for free?
This is fascinating, though.
Yeah.
Just the whole history of like this one weird thing, and then we happen to get a question about it.
Yeah, that you didn't. I mean, you had.
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of it before.
Yeah.
I mean, he does say his other question here is, what are some other reasons for the ongoing success or failure of handhelds? And I think the Vita, for the most part, is. I mean, I don't think it's a bad machine. It's Sony's handheld, right? But it's
I feel like a lot of the same handheld market is going to people's cell phones now.
I think a lot of it is, and I think that the way that Nintendo still manages to do good stuff is that they get games that you can only play on the 3DS. So Bravely Default, the Zelda last year. I mean, I put that Zelda on my Game of the Year list, right?
Yeah.
Persona Q just came out. A lot of the Phoenix Wright games. You can't. I mean, some of the Phoenix Wright games you can play on an iPhone, but like when they come out brand new, a lot of times they're only available on that one platform. And it really, I think, speaks to the fact that in this the place where video games are right now, that the parity of things that can happen across the board is starting to become the differences between individual consoles are slimmer and slimmer, right? It used to be that like your cell phone didn't have enough power to play a game, but now your cell phone has more power in some cases than a 3DS does. So what it really comes down to is where are the games that you want to play, and developers keeping those games away from contained in certain markets. You could only play it on this one thing and not on this other thing.
I feel like it would just behoove these consoles, like Nintendo, to just make a deal with anyone who makes exclusive games with them. That's part of the contract, is that we're going to make a version of this that we can also release on iPhone, but we get a certain percentage of that, and it'll be a dumbed down version, and it'll be a release a few years after or whatever. But they could clean up again, like on that.
Well, I know,
and not worry about having to have the medium for playing it.
I know they've talked a little bit about moving into the cell phone market of doing like demos and stuff.
I want to play regular Mario on my cell phone.
I think that the biggest thing with the 3DS, right, is the fact that it's got two screens, so it's hard to replicate that on an iPhone because the iPhone has one screen, right?
Sure, but they have all their classic archives that shouldn't just be exclusive to a Wii download or whatever.
I 100% agree that Virtual Console exists on the Wii U, and on the 3DS, and I think on the DSi. I don't see any reason why they don't expand Virtual Console as a service where I can buy Zelda on whatever the device that I have is through Nintendo.
Yeah.
I don't think there's. I would even go as far as to say that I think that. Well, I don't think they'd be able to make that deal, but I think it would be cool if they could make a deal with like Sony, right, where they put Nintendo Virtual Console on PS4, and then they get 85% of the profit, and Sony gets a chunk of it as well. Just because I'd much rather. When we play Zelda for our secret playthrough, is the only time I plug my Wii U in. Or, well, I played Smash Brothers and Bayonetta, but other than that, And
this is why they don't want you to. Want you to keep coming back.
There was actually, it was weird. I nixed a story that was like this really weird early news thing where they're like, yep, Nintendo's doing research on their next console. It's like, okay, great. It would be stupid if they weren't doing, what even is that? All right, this next one comes in from Dan David, who says, greetings to you, Shaman of the Mighty Dong.
Hello, Double D.
I'm currently playing through the story mode of GTA 5 and recently beat the mission that had you torturing a man as Trevor. The whole thing had me feeling sick and very uneasy the whole time. No stranger to violence in video games, and obviously neither are you fine gentlemen, but have you ever felt disgusted with yourself after being forced or choosing to commit a heinous and violent act in a video game? May the blessings of the dong fill every pore and orifice of your body, Dan David. Dan, I don't know if you're the one who keeps asking if I've played Smash TV, but yes, I've played Smash TV. I feel like I answered this on a podcast, and we answered this on one of our secret playthroughs, and it's his PS to this as well. I feel like everybody's asking. I even answered it on Indie Friday this week, and we didn't even...
Smash TV, isn't that good luck? You're gonna need it.
I think so, yeah. It's an arena dual joystick shooter. So, Grant, have you ever done anything in a video game that made you feel dirty? What?
You and I played... Man, what was the name of it? The Gods Are Watching?
Oh, Gods Will Be Watching?
Gods Will Be Watching?
Was that what it's called? I think it was what it was called.
And there was a part where we had to endure torture.
Yep.
And basically, we had to keep making decisions that resulted in our friend getting tortured behind us.
Yep.
And it was fucked up. And it just made me feel like this is fucked up. Enduring that.
That's actually there's actually a place in that game that's even more fucked up.
Oh,
than
yeah?
that. So, folks, if you haven't played Gods Will Be Watching, skip forward a couple minutes. I feel like it's fine to talk about. It's a very small game. But there's a place later on in that game where this group is getting ready to release this horrible biotoxin onto a population, and you're in this room with two researchers and there's like a bunch of researchers, right?
Yeah.
Two of them are dating, and they have a kid, and then there's like an older guy, and there's a younger guy, and then there's like this one lady, right? And you have to essentially torture and abuse them to get them to give up the codes that you need to stop this bioterrorism attack from happening. And
I played Jack Bauer, eh?
You could beat them up, you could shoot them, like you have to. If you push them too hard, they'll rush you, and then it's a game over. But if you don't push them hard enough, then they'll get freaked out, right? Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, I just remember like it was like the pulling teeth part.
Yeah,
it was just it was so gut wrenching. Like it was sickening.
Do you even know that? I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5. There's a whole series of missions where you work for like this FBI equivalent, and there's one mission where you're having to get information out of this guy, and you play as Trevor. You just walk around this room picking up various implements of torture and using them on this guy.
No, that sounds really fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up, and I know a lot of people have wrote in when the game came out saying like, I stopped playing the game because I was just like, I'm not doing that, you know.
Yeah.
I
remember I went with my wife to see that movie District 9.
Yeah.
And it was at that part where they're torturing the guy, and then they make him use his weapon arm to shoot other alien people.
Uh-huh.
And my wife just got up and was like, fuck this movie, and left. And I was like, she took the car, and I was like, you're my ride. But I stayed and watched the rest of it. It was intense, too.
I can think of a few. There was, especially in games that have you make a moral choice, that have a morality system in it. There's a part in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic where you can make somebody kill their best friend. Like they owe you like a allegiance, like a debt, right? And you're like, I'm cashing that in. Fucking murder your best friend. And the person's like, I don't want to. And you're like, I don't care what you want to. You owe your life to me. Do what I say. And I was just like, because I just told myself I'm going to play through this game. I'm just going to be the bad guy.
I'm going to be evil. Yeah.
I mean, there's a place early on in that game where you walk up to this woman and she's like, hey, I lost everything in this attack. I need you to go recover these supplies. And if you do, I'll pay you, or I'll give you this money as a reward. And the dark side choice for that is like, well, I'm not going to get the supplies, but give me the money or I'll fucking kill you right now. And she's like, this is all the money I have. And you're like, tough titty, give it to me or I'm going to fucking cut your head off. I mean, you know, in dark side terms, right? Where you're just,
tough titty.
Yes. Yeah. Fallout 3, there's a way that you can side with this kind of racist group of people and blow up an entire town in a nuclear explosion. I did that because I wanted to play through Fallout 3 and be an asshole, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think the best example of this is probably Papers, Please. Because Papers, Please is based around that whole concept of making you do things that you don't really want to do, but incentivizing that in a very subtle way to the point where you find yourself. Like there's a part in Papers, Please where very early on where this woman comes in and she's like, you got to help me, you got to let me through. And you look at her credentials and they're wrong. And you go, your credentials are wrong. She says, please, my boyfriend's insane. He's going to kill me if I go home. You've got to let me through. My family's on the other side. And you go, nope, get the fuck out of here. Your papers don't match. And the next day, when your day starts, it brings up a newspaper, and there's a little byline down there that's like, woman found brutally murdered to death in her apartment. And you're just like, oh, man! Like, shitty. So, all right. Next,
thanks for that uplifting question, Double D.
Yep. Next one comes in from Hatrix43. Hello, Jeff and Grant. Longtime supporter and patron. I go by Hatrix43 on the site. I said this before and was deemed unworthy, but Jeff was soliciting questions on Twitter, and I would really like to hear your input on this. I have a question about DLC. I recently replayed Assassin's Creed 3 and Darksiders 2. I was unpleasantly surprised to find that all the DLC packs for those games were still full price years after release. I also looked at Dragon Age 2, Mass Effect 2 and 3 and found the same thing. Why do DLC prices not drop the way that sticker prices of the game do? No one is charging $60 for the game anymore. Why do they still want $30 or more for all the DLC packs? Keep up the great work, guys. Hatrix 43.
Is it hat trick? Like,
Nope.
Do you know what a hat trick is?
Yep. That's when 3 things happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it is a hatrix.
All right, maybe
like
Hatrix.
the Matrix.
Maybe the hate.
But with hate. In
Well,
it.
okay, all right. Hatrix. Okay,
Hatrix.
yeah, that's much better.
So why are they charging so much for these DLCs after long after the fact?
It's a good question.
Because they gonna make that money.
It's a weird question
They're
because,
greedy.
like, so Dark Souls 2 came out, right? And it was where this is where I kind of noticed this for my own self. Dark Souls 2 came out, and it was $60, right? And then they had 3 DLC packs for it, right? And they were $10 per DLC, or you could buy the Quody Finger Season Pass for $20 and get all 3 of them. Now, I did that because Dark Souls and the site and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then recently, we went back. Jason and I reviewed one of our last sets of reviews. Is we reviewed all 3 of those DLCs as one review, right? And when we got to the end, the question was like, is this worth buying? Well, now Dark Souls 2 has been dropped in price to $40. So that $40 plus the $20 DLC is the $60 that'll get you back up to the full retail price of what the game was when it came out initially. But I didn't really even think about it all that much until he wrote in that, yeah, they don't ever really seem to have sales on DLC. Like, they'll knock down the price of the... Sometimes Steam does, where they'll knock down the price of stuff. And sometimes I'll see, like, flash sales where it'll be like, all the DLC for this is half off. But I think it's because most of that stuff is $10 or below. And I think that a lot of companies, like... If you look at the old games, right... Even really old games, like stuff that they put out on Steam that was released back in like '98, that's like a classic or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They rarely tend to price that stuff less than $10 unless it's like a port of an iPhone game. Most of the time, it tends to be at least $10 to $20, and I feel like the industry has figured out that 10 is about as low as they'll go for anything, right? They won't ever discount stuff much below that unless it's a Steam sale or other stuff. But then I think
because
that
the market will allow it, and like it makes it cost beneficial.
Well, I feel like, okay, so the game comes out, right, and then the DLC comes out. The game itself gets discounted, but they don't discount the DLC because you can still kind of make up the price back to your standard retail price, even on a discounted game.
Mm-hmm.
But then what it also does is it incentivizes them to put the whole thing together into the complete edition package that they're able to sell back to you again for $60 that also has all the DLC. And a lot of times nowadays, that's what you're seeing with these remastered editions, right? Where it's like, it's $60 and it's got all the DLC and blah, 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 blah. Who cares if it's a game that costs $10 if you catch it on the right sale, right? Here's a version of it that has everything that we can sell again. And then what normally happens is that then that complete edition, after it's been out for a while, starts to drop in price until you can finally pick it up for like $20 or $30 with all the DLC.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's something I never thought about before. The DLC doesn't tend to go on sale very often. I see it from time to time, but not as much as I see, like Amazon will have a daily deal where they're like, Tomb Raider's $30 today or whatever. And I just don't see that happen as much. So I guess mostly because of the $10 price point. All right, our next one comes in from Santiago. Santiago says, "Oh, great and powerful beard man, both father and creator of Darncleaves, who shall deliver us from EA and Randy Pitchford and renouncer of GameStop, I beseech thee." Wow, these are getting... I feel like Daenerys Stormborn over here.
That was epic.
Yeah,
I wish you would have read it in a more epic
Oh,
tone.
great and powerful beard man. No, I'm not going to do that whole thing. Oh, I thought that I had this one moved to a different slot in the thing. Okay, well, you can answer this question as well, Grant. This past November, I took part in the annual ritual of staying my razor and allowing your blessing will to grow free and hairy. However, after much thought and desire to join the mighty beard men that have come before me... Wait. However, after much thought and desire to join the mighty beard men that have come before me... Period. Okay. Men like Abraham Leonardo da Vinci, and Joss the motherfucking Boss Whedon. I've never heard that before. Is that his wrestling name?
That is his legal middle name.
Okay. I wish to keep it so I may spread your good word and will, but I do not wish to sully it. Basically, I decided to keep my beard after No Shave November, and I was wondering if you have any tips on maintenance, like special shampoo or something. Love the laughs you give while I drive. Santiago B. I hope Santiago is not watching the dojo while he's driving. That is incredibly unsafe. Please.
He just listens to the podcast.
Okay, good. So I'm going to tell you this right now, Grant. I've gotten like all caveman and shit, right? Because I've never shampooed my beard. I wash it with soap. And a few weeks ago, my beard trimmer, my electric beard trimmer, broke. So I've been straight scissors with the trim.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like I'll get out there and I just brush it out like afro style.
Yeah.
Like brush it the wrong way till it's all sticking up and then just go in there with scissors and like... Yeah, takes a while. So yeah, I'm maybe not the one to ask about beard maintenance because I don't use any essential oils or a straight razor. Or
I feel like I'm also not an authority because I can't successfully grow facial hair very well.
What are you talking about? I'm looking at facial hair on you right now.
So
you got a mustache, you got a soul patch, you got a chin strap. What's going on?
I read somewhere online, like on an eHow about growing beards. I'm pretty sure I read.
What?
I looked it up.
Well, you stop shaving and then a beard happens.
Well, I was kind of curious about like proper things to like help grow and nourish a beard.
Yeah.
And what I read was that you should
just smear chia all over your face.
Exactly, smear chia.
Yeah.
You should grow it out for 4 to 6 weeks at least. If you want to really make a sincere attempt.
Okay.
Grow it out for 4 to 6 weeks to figure out where are your strengths of your beard pattern and where are the weak spots, where it's patchy. For me, very patchy in a lot of places.
Okay.
And it just so happens that this past weekend, my dad turned 60, and I wanted to go get a haircut and like a shave, like a manly haircut and shave with him.
Right.
And so I tried to look up some nice barbers, and it turns out that if I'm looking, I'm like really going like tangents here.
Okay.
It's tangent on tangent.
Sure.
But anyway, I tried to find a place that gives a nice haircut and shave, and all those places are kind of more salonish. I went to this place called The Man Place, but it's still...
That doesn't sound like a good place.
The Man Place gave facials as well and scalp massage, and it was these ladies at this like dude place. So we got to drink scotch, my dad and I paid for it for his 60th.
Right.
And we got haircuts and a shave. But they also gave like these kind of girly facials, and like they did stuff for our hands, like kind of like a manicure thing. And I was like, what the fuck?
You just want a hot towel on your face while some dude in a white lab coat straight razors.
That's all I wanted.
Your eyebrows off or whatever.
But then they were talking like about the beard maintenance. They gave me a chin strap, which I'm still a little iffy on.
Yeah.
I don't really necessarily like a chin strap, but it's what my facial pattern allows.
Okay.
And she was talking about like how you still need to kind of put moisturizer on this because the beards, as they continue to grow, they can have a lot of dry patches that will kind of show. You aren't going to really have a problem because your hair is so thick that even if you have dry skin under there, can't see it.
Nope.
But I get some of that. And so there's different lotions you can buy at different barbershops. And then getting a mustache wax that you can apply to your mustache and your beard.
What?
Can help also keep that moisture in if they have facial problems.
Okay.
Some skin has this, some it doesn't.
Okay.
I'm just saying if they're
just
curious,
rub some coal tar on your face and then go hunt a deer. That's what. Buy yourself a checkered shirt that's made out of flannel and a crossbow.
But they're legitimately asking about like other beard maintenance. I'm just saying.
No, yeah. No,
there are places that do supply those things, and they'd be a good expert to go chat with.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure, dude. Why are you asking me?
Don't
man?
emasculate them. Don't emasculate them because they want to have a good-looking beard.
I'm sure there's whole websites that will tell you. I mean, hey, it's a trade-off for me. My hair's all falling out on the top of my head, right? So, but at least I got this beard thing.
At least you got the beard, man.
I every like twice a year, Grant, I feel the need to cut it off and let it grow back. And but man, it's just every time that I'm thinking about it, suddenly out of nowhere, a reason for me to go on video will happen.
Yep.
And I'll be like, son of a bitch. Like, I'm now scared of ever trimming it, because it'll be like, oh, and then here's the perfect video that's going to get us a ton of hits. No beard, right? the Patreon video.
Yeah.
No beard. So I don't know. All I did was stop shaving one day, and was kind of whatever. Then I was tired of it, and I shaved it all off. And then everybody's like, "Why did you shave your beard off?" And I was like, "Well, you guys got to look at it, not me." So whatever.
There you
go. All right. Next one comes in from Daniel, who just commenting on how many Daniels. Oh no, wait.
I think we've nixed 2 questions that were already Daniels.
Yes,
as well.
I think that we cut out 2 Daniel questions. So this one says, "Hello, Rage Lords, longtime listener all the way back to the Spill days. Loving the show, even more so. You're able to keep the intro to all your videos so different, which is great. I got to tell you, just to side, like Grant, we don't talk about this very often. It is exhausting in this front loading to keep coming up with jokes to put at the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
Like videos, we'll record 30-minute videos, no problem. And then Grant and I will sit here for like another 30 minutes agonizing over.
I would point out that it's pretty much you coming up with most of the ideas. You come up with pretty much all of the ideas.
I just sit here
and
I'm
just like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
As debasing as you want it to be. I don't care.
Take your shirt off.
It's always take my shirt off.
So it says, loving the intro to all your videos, which are great. They always make me laugh. So as for the question, what do you think it would take for video games to stop being an easy target whenever violent shooting or otherwise terrible events occur? I know you know, and most gamers know the facts, but what needs to happen so that video games make me go around shooting people? Wait, let's see. I know you know, and most gamers know the facts. But what needs to happen so that saying video games make me go around shooting people is as ridiculous as saying fictional books are causing us to kill one another? Love the work you guys do. I don't even mind. Go to squarespace.com if that keeps you operational. No, it's fine. We actually, on a side note, when we talked about the Patreon thing, we got a real big influx of people who are supporting us, and that's great. So
thank you guys very much.
Honestly, thank you guys.
Please keep it coming. If you're thinking after the Christmas break, if you get a little influx of cash, Patreon.
One last thing, if you have the time, I'm currently visiting the U.S. all the way from Australia, the deadlier England. I'm in New York for a week and spending a few days in San Francisco. Any advice on what to do besides all the tourist traps? Thanks and long live Dongacles, the sleeping emperor resting atop the bald throne. May his blessing always lift you up.
San Francisco.
Yep.
I used to live there for a couple of years.
Yep.
I mean, and like a lot of my recommendations would be like, oh, tourist traps, but go for a run on Chrissy Beach, which is right outside of the. It's on the edge of.
Did you say
Presidio.
a run?
Go for a jog, a walk. I rented bikes one time, and I biked up to the Golden Gate Bridge and across and back.
Yeah,
that was really fun. Maybe that's a little touristy. I don't know. Go to the wharf, Fisherman's Wharf, and get a bowl of clam chowder and a sourdough bread bowl.
Throw rocks at sea lions.
Throw rocks at sea lions.
Mm-hmm. Seriously, they're irritating as fuck. You don't know until you've been there. They're really irritating.
Go check out some breweries. I think always go check out breweries that are in the area, because breweries are just so fun. 21st Amendment is there. Is Anchor there? I think Anchor might be there. But yeah, there's a couple different good breweries. There's some good bars that you can try a bunch of great beers at.
I mean, I honestly think that one of the best things to do is go online, because you can find people writing travel logs for places that you don't know about.
Go to San Francisco and just surf the web while you're there.
Yeah, stay in your hotel room.
Watch Rage Like videos. That'll be awesome.
Watch Rage Like videos. No, I mean, look for. I'm sure that there's no shortage of people with blogs that are devoted to like, here's the cool stuff to do in San Francisco that nobody knows about, right?
Yeah.
If only does Stefan from SNL have a blog? That's really the one I don't want to read. No, but I think the same thing would be true of New York. I mean, if I was going to either one of those places, one of the first things that I always do, because I'm kind of a nerd about it, is look for the art museums, because those places have real world-class art museums.
House of Fine Arts there in San Francisco.
And you can see stuff that you can't see anywhere else. I
usually look at food. I go, because especially San Francisco, you can get a bunch of great Asian food. First and foremost, which we are seriously lacking here in Texas.
Yeah.
You really want to pay top dollar, but you can go get so much good Asian food there.
One of the things that I would probably do if I was in New York is try as hard as humanly possible to find a Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
Because you don't find that many of them in the U.S. Most of them are in New York City. So
We only have like 1-star Michelin restaurants if we have any.
I don't think we have none in Austin. I don't think
No, in the U.S.
Oh, in the U.S.
I don't think we have anything above a 1.
I think there might be 1 or 2 in New York.
Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
But I think San Francisco would probably be the same. You probably have to take a trip to maybe San Francisco, maybe LA. But I think that both those places you're probably going to have. That's another place where like just Yelp would probably come in handy.
Did he say he's going to New York as well?
Yeah, New York and San Francisco. Anyway, wait, what did it say? I'm in New York for a week and spending a few days in San Francisco. So I don't know if this podcast is going to get to him before he's gone from New York, but hopefully he does. Go see a Broadway play too. You know,
go to Midtown Comics.
Yeah. As for his question, time. I think the answer
What was his question?
His question is, well, what's it going to take to stop people from blaming video games for mass shootings and violence?
Yeah, time. I mean, the statistics are there. I think video games are still kind of an easy target because it is still a younger medium.
Mm-hmm.
As video games mature, as the audience matures, as video games start getting translated into other mediums that are also respectable, like when you start getting more film adaptations, when you maybe eventually even get a play adaptation based off of a video game,
Sure.
stuff like that, I think it'll start changing the culture, as well as the fact that, you know, let the older generation die off, and the younger generation is a lot more accepting of video games. We have an understanding.
Yep.
I mean, I'm trying to say I'm part of the younger generation. I'm part of a younger generation, but
You were part of a younger generation.
Yeah.
The thing is that you can look at it and you could say, okay, so I've been to, here we go. Easy analog, right, that you can put. When I was a kid, heavy metal and gangster rap were the cause of all the violence in the world.
and Dungeons and Dragons.
That's
somehow.
I think that's further back, right?
It's a little bit older.
But I'm talking about like legitimately when I was a teenager, heavy metal music,
and Beavis and Butthead for us.
Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead was
Yep.
the root of all evil for some reason.
But gangster rap, like for real, like I mean, even Beavis and Butthead, you could make some jokes about. There were some
Gangster
people
rap
who
is
believe that,
killing
but like,
kids on the street.
but
kind
like
of thing.
cop killer, you know, like some of those bands, like they were seen as destabilizing America and programming the youth to turn into these violent thugs or whatever. Nowadays,
there were predictions that there was going to be an adverse reaction of cops to the black community.
yes. In fact, I think. Oh, okay. That was
I'm sorry.
that was a weird
I
joke.
got a little
Grant.
dark there.
But the other thing is that you can see gang culture, right?
Yeah.
Did a similar thing. Go watch Predator 2, and you'll see what they thought was going to happen, or at least what one screenwriter thought was going to happen with gang culture, where you basically got people in downtown Los Angeles with automatic weapons shooting at each other openly on the streets. But what'll happen is time. That's what's going to happen. And you know what? We're not even remotely done yet. We're in the beginning of video games being blamed for everything that's wrong with society. Because I got news for you. When the VR stuff takes off, it's going to just be doubled back down again. Of like when I can put this on and shoot somebody who's right up in my face in 3 dimensions and looks like a real person,
Yeah.
they're going to be at it again. Like it's going to be again and again and again. Because the people that make that correlation have no memory, that they don't remember that they've said this shit 100 times and that every time it has not come to pass. I say beware of anybody who makes broad sweeping declarations about what media is going to do to culture, because for the most part, any time a prediction has predicted that it's going to destroy an entire culture, hasn't happened yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I generally, I hate to be so sympathetic to the other side at times, but I think when people get that afraid of these types of things, and they're wrong, don't get me wrong,
Sure.
here, they're wrong about making these declarations, but usually it stems from fear and sometimes tragedy and pain, and they're looking for a scapegoat, a reason, a justification for why bad things have happened, and video games. It looks like they could try and draw a correlation.
Sure.
I remember the famous thing of Columbine. The two kids, Eric Harrison, Devin Klebold, something like that. They went and shot the school, and they had trench coats on.
Yep.
And they listened to Rammstein and Marilyn Manson, and therefore Marilyn Manson and Rammstein were evil. They caused this
Rammstein.
Rammstein.
Yeah.
And trench coats.
Yeah.
Wearing a trench coat meant you're in the trench coat mafia and you're going to shoot up a school.
Sure.
It didn't mean that you're just a little bit more introvert and you wanted to kind of fit in with a different group.
Yeah. I mean, two things. I understand what they're saying, right? I got two things. There's two things about this thing that I've never been able to square myself with, right? One is I don't know how you become an adult and can't live in an ambiguous world where things can't be blamed on people. Because honestly, that shit's part of growing up, right? Not everything has a hero or villain or whatever. It's ambiguous.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is a person to blame. Sometimes you can say, that person did the thing that caused that. But sometimes you can't. And if you live in a world where you can't, you have to have something to pin an action on, then you're operating from a false start, because not everything has a direct progenitor, right?
Not a direct. There's always causes,
Sure.
but it's usually more gray than most people can try and you can't just circle something and be like, video games were the cause.
Right. And number two, anybody who ever tries to talk to you about this kind of shit, all you have to do with a causality argument is turn it around. That's all you have to do. Say, let's say that video games cause, let's say video games, right? Video games cause people to become violent and shoot places up, right? So you flip that around and you say, if that is a causal relationship, then it's a bad causal relationship, because it means that, say, a dozen people did play video games and then went on a violent rampage, right? And I don't even know the statistic. 10 million other people played video games and did not go on a violent rampage. So that means that in your causality argument, what that means is that video games cause people to be violent and to go perform violence in the real world 0.000000001% of the time. That's what that means. It doesn't mean, like, if it was a true
In fact, I could probably point out that eating hamburgers also causes them.
Maybe so.
Or you drill it down to something a little bit more obscure. Having bubble tea.
Right.
Bubble tea, a lot of this younger generation that were shooting up places also happened to frequent a bubble tea place once on occasion.
Sure.
Not everyone's doing it.
McDonald's.
But hey,
you could probably make a causal
relationship.
relationship that McDonald's causes everything.
McDonald's probably does.
Right?
To be fair.
Or
they probably cause every problem that we have in
Or
mankind.
like drinking Coca-Cola. Right? Find a common thing. Using Facebook.
We're going to find out that Coca-Cola still uses cocaine in their product.
Right.
And that's why everyone's fucked up.
No, that's a great one. That's a great one. You know what you could do? You could make a dumb causal relationship if you picked, let's take a group of people who did a thing, right? People who cheat on their taxes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's all the people in this country who've cheated on their taxes. Strange that all of them are on Facebook. So I bet if you're on Facebook, that makes you cheat on your taxes, right? That's the problem with a causal relationship, is you have to show why that relationship happens. Not just the fact that if a person does something that's incredibly popular and then happens to do something else that is not, you can't just make a direct link without looking at it from the other side of that equation.
Which, I mean, I don't like the term to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But to argue the other side, this isn't to say that video games couldn't have ever been a contributing factor in someone being violent. But they might be a contributing factor among a multitude of contributing factors for a person being violent.
Yep.
And it can't be the one thing that gets singled out. I mean, it's likely that if that contributed, it's a very, very minuscule thing in the larger context of what's going on with someone. And the bigger issue is that people just need to, have better mental health.
There's
checkups.
a famous. God, I can't remember where it was. It was like in Sweden or something. There was a guy who went and he did kind of a school shooting-ish type of thing, where he went and shot a bunch of people in a youth camp. I can't remember if it was in Sweden or it was in like one of those, like Norway or something like that. And he was real straight up. He did this because of religion. He did this because the country has become a godless nation of heathens that don't appreciate the Lord anymore, and he's making a statement by executing these people who don't follow in with his beliefs, right? So you make a causal relationship there, and you could say there's plenty of evidence to make a causal relationship between like religion and violence, right? But the problem is that it's like we talked about on one of our podcasts, and then somebody was talking in the comments about it's not. It's when I talk about the cheese addiction thing, right, with the food. It's not like you play a video game and then you stand up and say, must kill. The same way that you don't watch a commercial for Taco Bell and then you stand up and you're like, I must eat Taco Bell. It's not that. It's that, like you said, it's a contributing factor in a bunch of other things. And if you took that one thing away, it's not the magic bullet that's going to stop people from acting like crazy people.
No, I mean, anecdotally, I would say, when I used to play Halo a lot, like a lot, there would be times where I would think I'd be able to, it's just like a little mental like glitch, I guess. But I'd think, I could jump off the third floor of my apartment. As long as I do a crouch roll, I'll be fine. Whatever. Sure. And it's just like, because I've been so conditioned to doing that, but it's such a glimmer of a thought that I go, that's ridiculous. Why would I do that? But
well, and in actuality, you might be able to somewhat, if you knew how to tuck it, if you had been trained how to do that,
sure,
like by a professional stuntman, you might be able to do that.
But it was more like a compulsion, temporary thought of like jumping over the ledge and just try it out, Grant. Yeah, but I wasn't gonna. There's that neurological thing where people will try and imagine like the worst case scenario.
Sure.
And is that mean there's something fucked up with them?
No.
It's sort of some weird mental exercise that we all do. Yeah. But there's a reason. It's a weird thing that people seem to think that just because this happens in almost everyone's brain, like, what if I had to, what if I went on a killing spree? What if I, had to assassinate whoever?
No.
Whoever.
Yeah, right. I don't want to talk to people this week. All right.
But it's like a little thing that clicks in your mind and is a little mental exercise, but you would never do it.
Sure.
And everyone does that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean anything, but other people want to blame others because they're like, well, I do that, and therefore video games would make other people do that.
I think that it's...
act on impulses, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think I worry an awful lot these days that there's certain types of expression that are deemed so... this is a very difficult thing to talk about without getting yourself into a jam because we're talking on a podcast, right? But I'm not going to sit here and tell you every thought I've ever had hasn't been shitty, right? That there's a mental exercise that happens when you have a dumb id thought that's intrinsically fill in the blank ist or something like that. That's a mean thing, right? But you don't, if you have that thought, but you don't do anything and you work through it on your own and you try to integrate it in yourself, become a better person. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, or I know where I'm going, but I don't feel like I'm doing a very good job of talking about it. I sometimes worry that there's so much judgment on the internet when people say dumb shit, when they let that crappy part of your brain slip out of their mouth for a second in a comment or a tweet or something like that.
When they lose that impulse control.
Right. Yeah. Or they're on their phone and they're pissed off and they're having one of those dumb thoughts, but they don't stop it in time, and so then they get out there and they say something stupid, and then we see it, and then we just fucking vilify the shit out of them, where it's not... Sometimes it's possible that these people...
you and I have been dicks online.
Yeah.
Other people have been dicks to us a lot online.
Sure.
But that's the cost of doing something publicly, I guess, like this.
Yeah, I guess that I worry... Here's what I worry about. It used to be that if you said something stupid, right, one of those nasty thoughts in your head, some of the dark under bullshit, right, or even something that you're just...
There's no permanent record of
you
it.
haven't thought through all the way, right? Yeah, is that you say it to your friends, and your friends are like, dude, that is fucked up. Really? Or do you believe that? You're like, well, I don't know. And then you talk about it or whatever. Yeah. But if you say that shit online, like, you could lose your job. You could be.
You enter it into a much more global public discourse,
right? But
that subjects you to the ramifications,
right? But I guess that the way that you enter it into that discourse is so casual. That's what I kind of worry about it. I think I honestly think there should be a little bit more understanding about when people say dumb shit online. If you can, because whether you said some dumb shit or whether you didn't say some dumb shit, I don't know. There's an intent discussion to be had there that I'm maybe not fully ready to go over. But
my tendency is to always, I mean, okay, as far as like once I censor myself,
yeah,
my tendency is usually to take it in a lighthearted approach,
right,
and reply in a joking manner.
Yeah.
To give them a benefit of the doubt, and if they double down on what they said, then I can kind of assume, okay, well, that is fully how you intended to convey a message.
Right.
But this kind of goes back to what in our previous podcast that I was on with you,
yeah,
we were discussing that, where I still feel like this whole idea of the internet, like, dialogue is still in its infancy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the growing pains of that as well, that us trying to figure out how we interact in a much more global sphere is going to come with consequences.
I guess so. I guess it's just it's somewhat unsettling and irritating to me that there is collateral damage involved while that gets figured out.
I guess
that has gone as far as ruining people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, we're the test case.
Yeah,
and our next generation will hopefully be smarter with how they decide to interact with each other online, because, I mean, we're also transitioning from there was a temporary period of anonymity.
Sure.
And that anonymity can be hacked.
Yep.
People can find out who you are. You think, like, we're in that generation that thought there was a certain freedom that you could just say whatever the fuck you want to someone online. Be like, hey, you'll never find who I am.
Right.
We know who the fuck you are. and everyone is going to be able to find you, and you can't really just hide like that anymore. And I think that's going to be a continuing consequence that people are going to have to come back to grips with.
I guess it's for me. It's just that I see very little. I see very little forgiveness. Right. I see a lot of people who judge, and they judge hard, and they judge permanently. Right.
We select rage.
That's right.
That's what we do here.
That's right. What's what we do.
We don't. This isn't forgiveness select.
No,
this is rage select.
Okay. No, I don't know. Anyway, we've spent forever talking about this. We got a couple more questions. Then we're going to be done here.
It was a good point you're making. Yep. I agree, Jeff.
Is this one? Let's see. That was a really long question, so we're going to skip this one, and we're going to go to Andre, who says, "Hello, Guardians of the Donglexy."
He really wedged that one in there.
This is Andre from Ecuador. I have a question. I just read that before Red Dead Redemption, there was Red Dead Revolver, a game that was so forgettable that Rockstar didn't touch the franchise in years. So my question is, what games that were not very good in its first try would you like to see have a second chance? Thank you for hours of entertainment, Andre from Ecuador. And I picked this one mainly because I'm a bit of an authority on Red Dead Revolver. Did you know, Andre, that Red Dead Revolver... have you ever played Red Dead Revolver? PlayStation 2 game?
Andre's from Ecuador.
Yes.
I'm still stuck on that part. I was like, oh, that's cool. We have an Ecuador listener.
Ecuadorian? Okay.
Ecuadorian.
That's a horse. That's a horse.
Oh, it is a horse.
So originally, Red Dead Revolver was a Capcom property. Red Dead Revolver was a third-person, score-based cowboy game, right? Kind of like Sunset Riders, but it was a 3D third-person game. And I saw a video of it from E3 from zillions of years ago, and I was like, ooh, because I like cowboy games. I was like, great, cowboy games. I want to play that. Then the next E3 came around, nothing. Didn't come out. The next E3 came around, nothing. Then there was a news story that came through that was like, Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto people, have purchased the Red Dead Revolver IP from Capcom, makers of Street Fighter and crazy Japanese games. And I was like,
yeah.
the fuck does that work, right? and they're going to put out Red Dead Revolver as their own thing. So then about a year-ish later, Red Dead Revolver finally came out. And I think it's a really fascinating game that not very many people played because it's a third-person action game that's got this very gritty Sergio Leone treatment of it. Like before every level, your character kind of walks up on screen, this real washed-out thing. And you play as a bunch of different characters. The main character is Red, who's this kid who becomes a gunfighter. But then you've got like this like a Confederate soldier. There's an Indian. There's like the kind of a Lee Van Cleef and for a few dollars more bounty hunter. I think there's like a voodoo guy, kind of a voodoo gunslinger type of guy. And so you go through the game and every one of them has like a different special move, and then the story weaves through all of them. I think it's a great game, and I think most people that played it thought that it was good. It's just that I think that after they saw how the potential that it had, that Red Dead Revolver just took a while to make. That's the reason that there was such a time period between the two of them. Anyway, enough history lesson for everybody.
Yeah.
Games that you feel weren't very good but could have a good sequel. This is a difficult question.
We just what was that game that we just played?
Yeah.
Where it was an indie game we played, and we hated the ending, and we played it in 2 parts. What was the name of that game? Where we're searching the murder mystery. Home. Now, Home, I thought was actually pretty interesting in the gimmick of it.
Yeah.
That you are kind of backtrack, like investigating your own like fucked up case.
Right.
The premise, I thought it just failed to stick the landing.
It didn't pay off at all.
It really pissed us off.
Yeah.
But there's some elements of like the investigation and the murder.
Mm-hmm.
There's a simplicity to it that was charming even.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For some reason, I was like, I kind of want them to take that premise and like redo it better, a lot better.
I think
weird that comes to mind first.
Let's see. I was thinking about something and then it totally fell right out of my mind. Because I was going to say Johann Sebastian Joust as a joke answer, but you know that Sports Friends came out this week on the PC and it doesn't have Johann Sebastian Joust with it? Yeah, it's kind of lame.
What a miss.
So let's see. There's some older games that I always felt should have gotten sequels. I talk about Hostile Waters and Teus Rising a whole bunch on here. I think that was a pretty good one. That's a really good question. I'm trying to think of stuff that just didn't quite hit that would be good for a sequel. I felt like there was something that came out this year. Lords of the Fallen 2 was announced, and I feel like Lords of the Fallen could be better in the sequel. We haven't done a review for it yet, but I felt like that game had some identity problems that it needed to get around. You know what? We talked about before, Gods Will Be Watching was a game that had some very interesting ideas that were executed in a very frustrating way, just because there were sequences there where you had all basically, I mean, Gods Will Be Watching was a bunch of meters that you couldn't see that were going up and down, right? The meters between when you were going to die or how thirsty you were or when you were going to get your head blown off, right? It was a bunch of graphs that you just couldn't see that were going up and going down that you were having to do, you were having to manage, right? And I feel that game, if they made a sequel to that and they got a big budget, they got 2 or 3 times as many developers, and they were able to take those situations and maybe scale them back just a little bit so that you still have that here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing, and you're trying to measure those things, that it could work, that it could definitely work. But it would take more than they had when they developed it.
I mean, we seem to be kind of venturing into more indie games because I was going to also bring up the game Stay Alive that we played a while back that I thought...
Which one was that?
Stay Alive. That was the one where it's kind of like this Tim Burton guy holding a torch.
Don't Starve.
Don't Starve.
Yeah.
Whoa, jeez, I was way off with my name. Don't Starve.
Yeah.
I also like the premise of Don't Starve.
Yeah.
And I kind of want them to just like really do it up. Like Don't Starve in the vein of like Sim or like old Sim or like Civilization kind of thing where like it's like this epic journey of survival, and there's like a little bit more of a primitive take then the direction they had that was a little bit more Tim Burton kitsch-ish.
Okay.
With these monsters and stuff.
I feel like a lot of that is Minecraft, though, right? Is what you're describing is in some ways Minecraft of.
Yeah, but I mean,
from
do you
nothing-
have to eat?
Yes. If you don't eat, you die in Minecraft.
Oh,
It's got a food meter that directly affects your health. Yeah.
yeah. I guess I kind of want a little bit more realistic graphics as well, in that kind of vein,
I can see that.
rather than just chopping down blocks and pixels.
Took a look behind me at the big stack of games that came out this year, and I think that Watch Dogs probably firmly falls into that list for me. I didn't really care for what they did, but if they were to expand upon it and then refine it,
Yeah.
totally could be. Watch Dogs 2 could be incredible.
Well, everyone was flipping their shit for that game before it came out, so
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it makes sense.
Destiny is another good example, as I feel like there's a lot of stuff in Destiny that could definitely work in the sequel. I'm sorry, I have a really hard time a lot of times getting my brain all the way back to the beginning or to the middle of like last year, right, of what I was playing in the middle of last year.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes a question like this, it's like it asks you to go beyond, to like go to old school games,
Right.
Because I mean, it's like, well, give these kind of games that just came out a little bit more of a chance before
Yeah.
we say, oh, you need to fix all your shit.
All right, we got one more question because this has already gone way too long. Jeff and Grant, non-video game question here. How do you have your steaks? Rare, medium well, or well done? More importantly, are you a rump or a sirloin man? Rage on hungrily, Megu. P.S. Thanks on the suggestions for the points of interest in Austin. I'll be sure to check them out. Okay, this person must have emailed us a while back about that.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I do. I'll go black and blue if I trust the place. But usually it's like full rare. I like it bleeding and barely cooked. I want it
What's
seared.
black and blue?
Black and blue is when they take it's like charred on the outside and just this side of cold in the middle, like not even all the way warmed up.
God.
Mostly just the crust on the outside from flash frying it, and then
Why do you do that?
because I like the taste of red uncooked meat.
Oh.
I love the taste of rare steak. It makes my mouth's watering just thinking
You'd be
about
one of the first to be cannibals. Gotcha.
it. Yeah. There's one other way. It's very hard to find. I've only had it prepared this way one time, but if you can get somebody to sous vide a
Yeah.
steak and then finish it on the outside, that can be exceptionally good. It's the only time that I'll take a fully cooked piece of meat.
So, do you like eating just straight raw meat?
I've never really had occasion to, but I don't have any problem with it. I mean, I like sushi.
My wife always orders it.
Yeah,
like
steak tartare.
Tartare, or what's the other, like when it's not diced, it's like strips. I don't remember what it's
I
called.
don't know. Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
I'll eat.
carpaccio, beef
Oh, okay.
carpaccio, or beef
Haven't
tartare.
haven't really. I mean, I don't like it. I like it to be warm.
Yeah.
right? But yeah, about as rare as humanly possible. I'll take it.
I play it a lot less safe. If it's a restaurant I like that's higher end that I kind of like trust and excited about, I'll
Yeah.
say medium.
Yeah.
If it's a little less,
Yeah.
I'll say medium well.
Medium well.
I will take it medium well.
Jesus Christ! You might as well just throw that thing into the fire at that point.
Yeah, I guess.
Medium well.
Sorry, I'll take. I like medium well at places that are delivering me a more questionable steak.
Sure.
I like
see it.
cook that more.
I'm
Cook
not.
it dead.
I'm not old enough to worry about E. coli just yet. Burger though, I'm a little bit more of like a medium well kind of guy because burger is so rough.
It's hard to find a place that caters to a degree of burger.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you give me whatever you want, burger place. I'm gonna eat it.
Yep. So that's it. I like once upon a time. I'll tell you a quick story. This will be your bedtime story as we exit here. Once upon a time, I don't know how many of you are familiar. There's a place here in Austin called Luby's.
God.
Yep.
Oh, they don't have those elsewhere, do they? Everywhere around the world.
Do they? I don't know.
It's an international.
Okay.
Or a national.
Luby's is a cafeteria. You go, you pick up a tray, you say, give me some of that, give me some of that, give me some of that. When I was a kid, one of the biggest things I used to get at Luby's, outside of that horrible fish plank that is delicious, was they would have the big roast beef there, right? And they have it under a heat lamp, and they would cut you thin slices of this roast beef off of the roast beef, and they'd hand it to you. And it was always fairly, like medium well or something like that. One time we got in there, and that thing was rare as fuck. Like when he was cutting it, it was like blood coming down the side, right? And I was like, And I got it, and I tried it, and I was like, yep, That's how I want to eat meat from now on because the taste delicious and I love it. My mom won't sit across from me if we go out to eat a place with meat because she doesn't want to look at how rare I have my food.
Looks like I won't either.
Yeah? Well, you can't stand watching other people eat red meat?
Not if it's going to be bleeding out of your mouth as you eat it.
I close my mouth when I eat. I don't... Okay, anyway.
I can't.
mail@rageselect.com is the email address. That's our show for this week. Hope y'all all enjoyed it. Check back tomorrow for another episode of The Dojo. And yeah, I think that's...
And Merry Christmas next week to you all.
Oh, yeah. Grant's not going to be back to wish you... Well, we got... Oh, you guys should stay tuned. Tomorrow and this whole week of Christmas, we've got some really special, horrifying things lined up for you. And we'll see you then.